Good evening, everybody. It is November the 18th. I was about to say the 11th. That was last week. It is November the 18th, 2024. Welcome to Scouching Live. I, of course, am Will. I am joined, as always, by my host, my producer, co-host, whatever you want to call him, Mr. AJ Jajaro.
God of the
Sir, how are
editing on
you?
the channel.
Yeah, exactly. Editor, producer, jack of many trades. Maybe not all of them, but many of them. How have you been?
Okay.
What's going on? What's going on with your weekend? How are things? What's up?
Frustratingly losing in fantasy football by like very few points again, which is really annoying because I'm a super competitive guy and losing sucks. I hate losing, and I like to smash things when I lose, but I didn't do it this time.
Right.
But I do get very angry, and I want to win.
Yeah, AJ might be the most competitive person I know, at least outwardly competitive, to be perfectly honest. It's a little bit scary at times, but he's got pathological confidence, which is fine by me.
I just believe I'm going to win everything, and when I don't, I get really mad. What
exactly.
can I say?
Yeah, where could you go wrong believing you're going to win all the time?
I have a story about that as a child,
yeah?
by the way, very quickly.
Boy. Yeah.
My grandfather, who also is a competitive person, like, I was 5 years old playing a game with him. I don't remember what game it was, but I beat him, so he started trying harder and beat me the next time, and I got all mad. And he said to me, "Hey, AJ, look, I like to win too sometimes." "Yeah, but I like to win all the time," is what I said as a 5-year-old child. And it still remains true to this day. So anyways, get on with the podcast, but that's my little aside for now.
Yeah, I mean, I believe it. Knowing you, I fully believe it. I will fully admit tonight, we're going to turn it over to the audience for the evening because we have been, I would say, simultaneously hard at work and lazy.
Absolutely. Just the best combination you can be.
Yeah, I didn't get enough sleep last night, so my brain's a little slow, but we've got 2 video rooms coming this week for you. Ivan Demidov is one of them, and Artyom Levshinov is another one, which is going to be a hoot. Those two were a lot of fun to record, and we're putting those together. And with a couple others, probably next week, we're going to go back to one a week. We'll see how things go. We'll see how these shake out, but yeah, so tonight we're turning it over to the audience, doing a little Q&A.
We're very lazy because we recycled video ideas on the Tuesday for the Wednesday this week.
I mean, there's only so much we can do, especially at this point in the season. We're not. Hey, here's a topic. I was gonna say we're not Jake Paul. Did you watch any of that?
Yes.
Absolute travesty of a program.
Yes.
I watched the whole thing. Man.
I watched the whole thing.
Oh yeah. I mean, what in a word? How did you feel coming out the other end of that?
Well, the way I felt about it was, yeah, of course, this is what was going to happen. I know it's Mike Tyson, and there was part of me that's like, yes, please, kick Jake Paul's ass, because I am not a big Jake Paul guy. AJ Jadero, not a big Jake Paul guy.
Nor is Will Scouch.
So I was hoping he'd get destroyed, but I knew that Jake Paul likes taking fights that he's going to win. Hence why he's been ducking KSI. So he won. And he beat a 58-year-old man as a 27-year-old. Congratulations. I mean, it's a legendary 58-year-old, but
yes,
still, he's 58.
He came out swinging too.
He's older than my dad.
Came out swinging. Yeah, that's a little crazy. I mean, I thought it was kind of a very interesting thing. A lot of people watched it. I think it's like 60 million people or something watched it. And if you watched the whole thing, it kind of like ripped open how much of a sham the Jake Paul thing is. Like how it's like, I kind of went in going, the entertainment value of it, I get. You're trying to turn boxing into WWE. You're doing these novelty fights and bringing these legends out of retirement so you can punch them in the head and all that stuff. And then you actually see some really entertaining and good fights before the main one. And then the main one is just so sad and like a 1 out of 10 and it's so obvious that they had in the agreement that Jake Paul wasn't going to knock him out or knock him to the ground or any of that stuff, because he was just wandering around the last few rounds, and they went to the final bell, and it was just so sad. And the fights before it, especially the women's fight before the last one, was unbelievable. Like, what, I was on the edge of my seat that whole time. I could not believe that neither of those two women hit the ground. I could not believe that they were walking afterwards or alive even. It was wild. If you haven't seen it, the highlights are worth watching.
See, I just tuned in for the last one because I'm like, why not?
Dude.
And
No,
part of the
dude.
reason is because I'm actually a WWE fan, and I was watching SmackDown before, and it was just on at the end. So
Yeah. I mean, the first fight on the card was a different YouTuber, a Brazilian guy, fighting an actual boxer from India. And he got, the guy from India won quite handily, but also kind of like humiliated him a little bit. Like, he was doing some stuff where I'm like, wow, if I were on the other side of this, I would not be smiling. I'd be taking penalties and elbowing this guy in the teeth. And then the next fight was like very lopsided for a while, and then it did not be, and then it was very quickly not lopsided. It was like one of them was a very heavy favorite and very nearly lost. And then the women's fight before the Jake Paul fight was unbelievable, like 10 out of 10, worth the watch. Absolutely wild. And then the Jake Paul Mike Tyson one was, I thought it was fun for about 30 seconds, and Mike Tyson hit a few good ones, and then you're like, oh right, this guy's almost 60. Though the stamina just is not there. I did want to ask, did you happen to catch the camera mishap and seeing Mike Tyson a little bit too much of Mike Tyson? Because
no,
that was a good time. Okay, well, that was a fun little
No, I
live
did
TV
not.
thing in the dressing room or warm up room, you want to call it. That was a good time.
Yeah, I
But yeah.
literally turned it on for the entrances.
Okay. Yeah, those cringe entrances. That
Well, it
Jake
was
Paul entrance was
buffering.
also so
Hey, it was
cringe.
buffering 90% of the
Oh,
time during the entrances.
I was the only one who seemed to not have problems during that. I watched the whole thing without issue, pretty much. I mean, the quality kind of came in and out, but I feel like I was the only one. And I don't know. I mean, maybe I was.
Well,
And I'm
I
just
was
the luckiest guy.
also in my basement, which isn't the best
Oh,
spot
okay.
for Wi-Fi in my house. Like, usually my Wi-Fi is pretty good.
Right.
I've boasted to you about my Wi-Fi speed, and I won't gloat on stream fully about it because it's pretty ridiculous. I don't pay for it, so that's why
Right.
I can do it or I can use it, and it's really fast. But yeah, like that's probably the reason. And like my brother and I just watched it on a phone. We're just like, oh, it's about to start. Okay.
Right.
And we just sat on the couch and watched it on his phone.
Love it. Speaking of ridiculous and sad, the Boston Bruins are currently losing 3-0 at the first intermission to the Columbus Blue Jackets. Just for the record, I went and looked this up. The Boston Bruins in the National Hockey League are the second worst offense in the Eastern Conference. Only team behind them is Detroit. Detroit and did I say it right? Detroit, right? Detroit.
You said it right.
Yeah,
If you hadn't, I would have said something. So
yeah,
don't worry.
So Detroit and Boston are the only teams in the Eastern Conference with fewer than 50 goals this season total. The Bruins are in their 20th game. And they called up Jeffrey Veal, and he's taken 7 penalty minutes tonight already. So, go Bruins, go. It seems sad. I mean, a lot of people are blaming Jeremy Swayman already, which, I mean, I don't know if you can blame Jeremy Swayman for being on a team that is the second worst offense in the entire conference. That kind of makes life a little bit more difficult.
I
for the
wonder
goaltender.
what the solution is.
Yeah. I mean, I am kind of teeing you up here, but
I don't need to go into it. There's a question about it later.
There is. But yeah, it's not looking so great. Okay, the second period just got going, so we'll see what happens. But
do you want to get into the questions now? Because we've got a little bit of stuff. And
well, actually, I do want to mention one more thing.
Okay.
One more thing. Shout out David Phillips if he's here yet. If he's not, that's cool. I actually met him in person. He's real. He exists. We went to see the Niagara game on Sunday afternoon.
Okay.
It was Niagara against Oh my goodness, how am I forgetting? I am so tired. It was Niagara against Brantford, right? And Brantford shellacked them 6-3. I mean, Niagara was missing a lot of guys. Brantford was not. Brantford has actually added guys like Nick Lardis, and Nick Lardis had a nice afternoon. I think he had a couple of goals and some other stuff go in there. But yes, shout out David Phillips. It was cool hanging out with him. It's cool meeting him. And I mean, obviously, if anyone else is around the area in which I reside, sort of Guelph, Brantford, Brampton, west of Toronto, I'm usually at the rinks, and I'm happy to hang out and watch some puck and boots on the ground it.
They've gone out with me actually
to
Brampton because I don't live too far from Brampton.
Yep. The Meridian Center is a relatively new arena. It's really nice in there. I really enjoy the experience. It's nice.
How was the media room?
Well, that's the thing. I'm not sure exactly if there is a lounge or a room for media and scouts specifically. I poked the media entrance, if you're not familiar, puts you in the club seating level, so like the second deck and where the boxes are and everything. And there's two like pathways you can go where both sides of the ice have boxes. So I was like, all right, I got to the arena. I'm like, all right, I got to go to the bathroom. I don't see David here. I'll figure this out. And I was like, all right. So I walked all the way to one end of the hallway where the boxes were, and I saw nothing with regards to the media except for like specifically things for broadcasting. So like radio and all that stuff. So I wasn't going to go in there. Did my business, walked back, went down the other hallway.
Did my business.
I actually ran into David then, and I was like, oh, I'm actually going to go look for if there's like a media room where there's like a lineup sheet or something, because I like to doodle on the lineup sheets. And he's like, yeah, sure, whatever. So I went, and I went all the way to the other end of that hallway. And at the end, there was a room that said media room or press room, I think it said. And I was like, well, if it's anywhere, it's going to be here. And I poked my head in, and there were 3 dudes with suits on and no lights were on. Just standing there, like doing nothing. I poked my head in, and I just went, well, I don't belong here. This is not where I'm supposed to be. I didn't even take a step into the room. I just turned around, left, and then just went back to David and was like, I don't know what's going on. So whatever, call whatever. But I'm pretty sure that the lineup cards and stuff would have been in there. But it's still, I mean, the Kitchener experience, I got to say, Kitchener is like SSS tier
S plus
experience.
I think is what the kids call it.
Yeah, is okay. S plus tier experience at the Kitchener rink,
or Z tier now. I think that's also another one. That's another stupid one. Look, when it comes to tiers, I'm tired of this stupid stuff. All right, S tier is 1. You put one person or one thing in S tier. All right.
No,
it's but you can't. Like, I'm tired of this. You put one thing in there, all right? The very best goes in S.
Disagree.
No, but like,
Disagree.
Then just tier it 1, 2, 3, and 4. Enough with the letters. Bring numbers back.
Don't tell me what to do. I'll do what I want.
No, I will tell you what to do. That's my job. I'm your producer. I run the show.
Fair enough.
Lazily, I will add.
Well, I mean, we can get away with being lazy once in a while, right? We're just having a good time. It's Monday. Got a case of the Mondays, maybe. That's cool. Also, before we get into questions, quick shout out. Toronto won a thing this weekend. The Toronto Argonauts won a Grey Cup. Their second in 3 years. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers lost their 3rd straight Grey Cup. So go Blue Bombers, I suppose. But I never had any doubt in my hometown Argonauts.
But Will,
winners forever.
You're missing the actual football game that mattered. The Bills beat the Chiefs. All right, that's all. That's what I watched.
I don't know.
That's what I cared.
That means. I've never heard of those teams in my life.
Yeah, okay.
Is that CFL? Is that a CFL team?
No, it's it's a part
Australian football.
It's fun. That's funny. So when I was in camp, like I went to day camp. Like I went to like a community center for summer camp programs, and they would always do Aussie X football. So the guy, like, they'd always have like a guy come in and say, "Good day, mate," and like give us nicknames. Like he actually would give us nicknames. I forget what mine was, but like we'd play Aussie X football because I had played on it. Like I was in a sports camp as a kid. So fun times.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that stuff. But
Love a good Aussie football game. Aussie football's fun. It's a good one.
But yeah, the Bills beat the Chiefs. I'm very happy about that. It's their first. The Bills gave the Chiefs their first loss since Christmas of last year, so that's pretty awesome.
Nice.
Go Josh Allen, go Bills.
Yeah, we're football fans here for sure. I mean, you said you were in fantasy football, so
yeah.
Anyway, yeah, let's get into some of these questions. I'm sure there will be more rolling in over the course of the show. Again, we're obviously just taking questions. So if you have anything regarding anything with regards to hockey or the show or what AJ puts in his hair,
I don't put anything in my
want.
hair. Why would you? What? Because I'm Italian, you just assume I put stuff in my hair?
I didn't say that. I put stuff in my hair.
Really?
I mean, shampoo.
Well,
I don't know. Maybe you're a Pantene man. Maybe you're a. I don't know. There's no name. Maybe you're a no name.
I'm whatever. Guy. I'm whatever soap is bought for the house kind of guy. That's what I am.
Yeah, whatever's there on the shelf.
Exactly.
I will say.
Yeah. As a kid, I used to put a ton of gel in my hair, and then after a little while, I could just style my hair. Like I don't ever have to put gel in my hair. It just sticks up now, just a little bit. So that's pretty cool. 13-year-old me.
That, I suppose.
13-year-old me putting tons of gel in my hair, having a faux hawk as a kid.
Yep.
I was a faux hawk child, so
everybody goes through that phase at some point.
I had a rat tail with the faux hawk. It's really bad. It's really bad. Really, really bad.
If I let my hair grow out, I get one of those too. When I was in grade 8 and grade 9, kids would pull on it from hair.
Yeah, grade 7 and grade 8 for me.
Yeah, kids would pull on me.
That's when you're at your worst.
Yeah, shameful time. Shameful times. Okay, we did get a question from the Discord server actually before the show started. So we're going to go through that first, and then we'll get to the chat here and see what we got. So the question is: any specific thoughts on the use of analytics relative to teammates as opposed to relative to the league? This was actually really interesting. I think that this is a really curious thing to think about. I know that one thing I love about hockeyviz.com, which is Micah Blake McCurdy's service, which I pay for, and it's worth every penny. And he's infinitely smarter than I am. But a lot of his stuff is scaled relative to league average, which I think helps in its own way. I think there are certain portions of his database that you can also look at, and it basically implies relative to teammates, like his spider graphs and everything, which I love as well. But it really is like it's kind of like a tool, two different kinds of tools that can be used for two different purposes, right? Like if I'm looking at a team, like if I'm a pro scout and my responsibility is, okay, I have to know everything up and down the road about the Pittsburgh Penguins, right? I got to know every single player on that list, and I have an understanding of data and data science and everything. Like, it's not a huge deal to me to know how good relative to league average a Marcus Pettersson is in a certain area of the game if I'm really focused on just the Pittsburgh Penguins. But I do get curious about, obviously things scale a little bit when the team is bad or good. But at the end of the day, especially with regards to things like shot location, like heat maps and all of that stuff, scaling heat maps and everything to league average, I think helps illustrate things a little bit differently as well. So it's really kind of like what you're trying to achieve, right? I personally, when I'm doing my work, I don't have any sort of relative metrics because I'm not really interested in that. I try to look at involvement. So I'll look at things that are the entire team doing a thing and how often is this player doing that thing. But in terms of like relative to the entire team, how are these people performing in a certain way? I don't really think that that's super useful on an individual basis. But if you're doing like team analysis, then absolutely, I think relative to the team, it's kind of like, where do you focus your attention? Why do you focus your attention in certain areas and why not? Whereas if you're just sort of looking at the raw quality of a player, I think that looking at it relative to league average, it scales for the average team. And I mean, obviously there's a little bit of context if the team is really bad or really, really good. But I think it is a good way to, it's good to have both, I guess is what I'm saying. You don't rely too much on relative stats, especially because as well, it's hard to tell when you look at a player with relative to their teammates how much of a factor it is the players that they're playing with at the same time that is boosting that relative number, or if it's that player specifically boosting that relative number. Whereas if you look at something like shot maps relative to league average, you can go, okay, maybe this player's possession is way better than the team, but they're not getting shots from scoring areas, and that's kind of, they're a winger, so you're supposed to probably be scoring. But if they're not getting their chances, but the line is doing really, really well, then I think you can sort of look at it and go, maybe there's something more to the other guys that they're playing with rather than the player himself.
Just watch
so
the games. Just watch the games. Stupid.
Never mind. Yeah, forget everything I just said. Forget everything I just said. Throw out all your math textbooks. I actually, that's funny. You I said throw out your math textbooks. I just started watching the Apple TV show Foundation, which is based on a book, a science fiction book that I love, and it is about a future civilization of humans who persecute a mathematician who figures out how to predict the future, and he predicts that human society is going to completely collapse, and then they ostracize him for it and exile him to a planet. So if you want to do that to mathematicians today for being nerds and taking away the joy of being alive, then so be it.
What are they, the Athenians of the future ostracizing?
Pretty much, yeah. Like they exile, I suppose you could say. There's a bit of exile in that show. So far, so good. I'm almost all the way through first season. It's really good. Anyway, that's besides the point. Watch the games, nerds. Go boots on the ground, and if you don't, you're a loser.
Look, data
or whatever.
Data's good if you know what to look for. Sometimes data tells you stupid things, all right? It tells you pointless, dumb things.
Oh, I've said so many times, the more I get my own data, the less I think about it. I can't live without it. But it's kind of like, to me, it's like I wear my seatbelt every time I get in the car because I don't want to drive a car while not wearing a seatbelt. But if I don't wear a seatbelt, but just because I'm wearing a seatbelt doesn't mean I can drive like a maniac, right? It's like, just because I know how to read data doesn't mean I'm smarter than, Max Verstappen. It doesn't mean I'm better at driving a car than Max Verstappen is, right? Like, it's just, you're wearing a seatbelt. That's kind of like, you need to know how, you need to have it. It really helps you, do what it is you need to do, get from point A to point B safely. But it's a matter of how you, drive the car. That's what really matters. Anyway,
it matters how you use it.
That helps.
It matters how you use it, because think of it like this: you could have 4 different radio stations coming in all on one channel, and it's all murky.
Yeah.
If you can pick up the signal that you're supposed to pick up, then great, you're able to use it well. But a lot of the times, it's just noise. It is just pure noise. So use it at your own discretion. And don't treat it like it is the end-all, be-all, because I have done that before, and it makes you look dumb. It makes you look very, very dumb.
Yep.
But
just ask anyone.
But it makes me look smart, so I agree with it.
Yeah, that's true. It makes me look smart, so it's right. Okay, so I guess now we can get to the chat questions. I don't think we got anything from the rest of the platforms.
You get anything from Blue Sky?
Yeah, well, that's the first question we got here.
Oh, I know. That's why I'm leaning into it.
So I'm glad a good portion of the hockey community is migrated to Blue Sky. I'm ready to dump Twitter. I honestly cannot stand Twitter anymore, and it's not just this like, oh my god, liberal snowflake crap. It's just annoying. Like, it is so obviously curated to be stuff that I specifically do not care about and do not like. It's just it's so bad. It's so bad. And it was weird, actually. Like, I noticed this. So I went to bed on US election night, obviously a little depressed. The next morning I woke up and had like 40 Blue Sky notifications on my phone. I'm like, what is that? Like, what is happening here? And then over the course of like the last 2 weeks, I didn't even do anything. I put out one tweet where I was like, oh, I have a Blue Sky. People are following me on Blue Sky. Here's my link. And I don't know, it just has happened where now, I mean, I don't have like a billion followers on Blue Sky, but like unprompted, a whole bunch of people seem to be moving over. I believe they're like up at 1 million new users a day in the last week or something like that. I think they've hit almost 20 million total users. And I actually really like it. Like if there's anyone in the chat or in the show who is thinking, oh, why would I ever do that? What is it's just Twitter, it's this and this and this. Nah. It's, in my opinion, it's better. Number one, it is cleaner. The way Twitter looks, it is abysmal. Like whoever is designing the way that Twitter looks, how big the ads are, how big images can be, like how the sidebars are designed, terrible. It looks awful. You go to Blue Sky, it's clean. I would pay money to use Blue Sky, honestly. Like if it was a fee per month to keep ads off of Blue Sky and remove that incentive for the algorithm to like get you to watch terrible ads for terrible things you don't care about and get you engaged, I would do it. But
Don't give them ideas. Don't give them ideas.
I'm giving them an idea. I want them to do that.
Oh, okay.
Because otherwise, like at some point they have to make money, right? There's no monetization at all from what I can see. So I wouldn't do it on Twitter. I'm certainly not paying Elon Musk my money. But what I will do is, go to Blue Sky and go, I actually like this service. You don't hear much from the founder of it, who I believe is Jack Dorsey, the guy who founded Twitter. But I would much rather give my money to him to keep ads and craziness off of this platform. But it's way cleaner. The fact that you have multiple timelines where you can put different topics and different lists of people, so you can compile, sort of curated lists and follow other people's curated lists of things you want, and it won't add extra crap from accounts you don't care about. It's great. Like I have one specific for Magic the Gathering. I've got one specific for astronomy. I've got one specific for women's hockey, which is a really good one as well. It's been there for a long time, actually. But so that's a really good one.
Is this podcast sponsored by Blue Sky, or are you just?
I'm open to it. If you want to give me a call, Jack, my phone number is no. I mean, I would love to do that if it was a possibility, but obviously it's not going to happen. But no, it is not. I've really liked it a lot more than I thought I would. I mean, I didn't use it for a really long time, and then once I noticed that people were moving over there, I kind of checked it out again and went, yeah, you know what? I feel like this is, the appeal is a lot higher. And also I'm just like sick and tired of all the crap on that other one because, I don't know. It's just a nightmare. It's like the equivalent of like eating at a Sonic, it's just, or like it's like how I felt after I ate White Castle for the first and only time. Like, I just kind of was like, I mean, it's food. Like, I'm not going to die because I ate it. And I'm not going to die, like, it's not going to, I don't know, maybe it'll make me sick, but like, whatever. But it's like, I don't know, there's other restaurants to get a burger from that you don't have to eat at White Castle, but like people like White Castle. There's really weird people who really like White Castle, right? I don't know. I also have it out for White Castle. The one time I had it, it was terrible. Love Columbus, but their White Castle was terrible.
Also, I saw a thing about the thumbnail looks interesting. I don't make the thumbnails. It's all Rayan. So you got anything? Rayan just popped in the chat anyways. So.
Yep. Well.
And he says, Blue Sky is our savior. I don't have Blue Sky. See, that is the person that makes the thumbnails. So.
Yes.
Yeah. He is a very interesting guy.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah. Do you have any explanation for Edward Chalet's production in the AHL despite having him in a fourth line role? I like him, but every time I watch him, he leaves me kind of unimpressed except for a few moments. That is Edward Chalet. Like you just summarized Edward Chalet's entire game. He is a very smart complementary offensive guy. I feel like I don't know off the top of my head. I will look it up how much he's scoring at even strength, because usually fourth line guys don't score like that, but I don't know. I mean, again, keep in mind as well, we're still relatively early in the year. I will also see what his shooting percentage is, for example. at even strength at least, because there's a lot of moving parts that can
Mm-hmm.
make production high. But I mean, he obviously is off to a really good start in his AHL career. I want to do a game tape on him at some point, or whatever it is, a video room thing. Game tape is Tony's show.
Yes.
Sorry. Okay, yeah. So a lot of his production is coming at even strength, and so far so good.
If you want, we can make it the next forward episode that's not Demidov. We could shelve we could shelve Cowan for another week and then just do that. What does the chat think about that? Because I was only trying to pander to Leafs fans, but I will pander to our audience instead.
Yeah. So it looks like his shot percentage is pretty low. He's shooting the puck a lot. I don't know. He's doing well, but I honestly can't say I've seen a tremendous amount of him in the AHL, but he's a guy who he's got the shot. He can shoot the puck. He is very smart. When he touches the puck in the offensive zone, he can make things happen. There's a very sort of like a big, he's a one of those, I don't know how to explain it. Like maybe that kind of Rutger McGroarty style of play where it's like you give him the puck in the offensive zone and he can make stuff happen. But the roundedness of their game and like defensively outside of sort of being a good positional player, it's not amazing. At least that was my experience with him.
Mm-hmm.
But it's been a good year. I mean, I can't lie. Being, over 2 points per 60 at even strength is very good.
It's better than my boy, unfortunately.
It is better than your boy. I mean, Coachella Valley is pretty stacked too, right? Like Seattle has drafted a lot, and a lot of their earliest draft picks are now in the AHL. Whereas Boston does not draft. And when they do draft, it's often not
Dean
very
Letourneau.
good. Right. And we don't have to talk about him. But yeah, Edward Chalet doing well. He is on the list though. I do want to take a look at him over the course of at some point in the near future, because I'm interested. I'm curious as to how this happens. And we'll see. Thoughts on Edward Chalet and Jagger Firkus's transitions to the AHL. Also, what do you think about some of the other Kraken prospects and how they're developing? Yeah, so Jagger Firkus, again, I haven't seen much of him in the AHL this season, but I am on the record of being a big Jagger Firkus guy. I think he was my best player. I think he was my best player available. So he's leading the team in even strength points right now with 8 and 13 games. Edward Chalet has 7 for the record. I mean, I've always really liked Jagger Firkus. Like he, as an offensive guy, he moves quick, he plays hard. He's got an unbelievable shot. But he also has some pretty good puck distribution ability. I really like Jagger Firkus. I feel like I don't know. I will take a look at him too. Like he's probably also a guy on the list that I want to take a look at. But 4 of their top 5 even strength scorers to this point are born in 2003, 4, or 5, which is pretty amazing. And then another 04 is in Yanni Newman is not far behind with 5 points at even strength. So the kids are driving a big part of the bus there in Coachella Valley. So I can't speak to anything specific right now. With those two, but it doesn't surprise me that Jagger Firkus is doing what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
There's something. Okay, yeah, that was a mustache hair. Anyway, yeah, I know, gross. What do you think about some of the other Kraken prospects, and how they're developing? So you mentioned Caden Price, Carson Rakoff, and Clark Caswell. I will admit I am a Clark Caswell stan. Him doing so well this year is not a surprise to me. I love him. I just cherish Clark Caswell as a player. He just plays the style of play that I love so much, where he just gets it. He goes out, he moves the puck really well, goes to the net, finds space in the offensive zone, chips in defensively. Just everything is just very procedural, calculated, and moves the puck up the ice really well. Elevates guys that he plays with. I'm a huge fan of Clark Caswell. And to see him, he scored a lot last year. So to see him score more on a team where they were pretty young last year and now they're all a year older is not a surprise. Carson Rakoff, I've seen him a few times. You've seen Carson Rakoff when we went to Brampton.
Yes, I did.
And I mean, he's a guy who, again, I feel like is not he's clearly not having a problem scoring in junior hockey. Like, just a really skilled guy who can move the puck around players better than everybody. He's a little bit quicker than a lot of players.
And plays with Porter Martone.
Plays with Porter Martone. Like, that's a really good, line with Aiden McDonald, I believe, is also on that line. He's a rambunctious jerk. And they all kind of work off each other really, really well.
I should actually have that because I've been doing research on Porter Martone for our interview with him tomorrow.
Yes.
And he talks about his line in the article I found. So let me just quickly pull that up. But Rakoff's definitely on there.
Yeah, and I mean, they play off each other really, really well. Like, Rakoff is a bit more of a possession guy, offensive leaning guy. Martone is more of the physical. He still has a lot of skill and all that stuff, but he's more of the physical thing there. And McDonald is just the rambunctious, running around trying to take people's heads off type player.
Yeah, it's McDonald. Yeah, it's Angus McDonald and Carson Rakoff.
Yeah. So, and that makes sense. So really good. He's a really good one. Caden Price, that's another one that I want to see this season. I have not seen a game of Caden Price this year. I do think that Kelowna has guys on that team like Iginla and Andrew Crystal, where on that, if you have those guys on the power play and you're Caden Price and you're the defenseman on the power play with those guys, you're going to score points, right? Every time I've seen Caden Price in Kelowna, and it's up until this season, I should say, I really like what Caden Price could be. Like, Caden Price has always been a guy where once in a while you go, oh, damn, like, look at that guy go. Like, that was quite something. But then there's a lot of times, especially in his own end, where I'm going, oh, that was not great. And your job as a defenseman. But yeah, I mean, he's got 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 points in his last 5 games, which is amazing.
That's pretty good. Pretty good.
Three of his 4 goals are on the power play.
So they don't count.
Right. So they don't count. And I want to see who else is on this team. I can't remember off the top of my head. Yeah. Crystal, Tija Ginla, Jakob Stanzel's a point a game. Like, Andrew Crystal has 31 points in 12 games this year. He's plus 18 in 12 games.
It's hilarious too. He's on a winning organization as of right now in the Washington Capitals. True. So
go Caps, go.
I mean, I don't think he'd come in and do what Stank did because he does not have the motor.
No,
he just does not. But hey, if you're looking for somebody to replace Ovi as like the do nothing but score points guy, hey, he's really good at that.
There's your Nick Backstrom replacement.
And Nick Backstrom was more.
I mean,
involved,
I'm just the playmaker version of.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. So Andrew Crystal has 22 even strength points in 12 games. He's got 14 primary assists in 12 games. Caden Price is a point a game at even strength, but 9 secondary assists, so that factors in as well.
So those also don't count.
Those don't count. So nine primary points in 17 games, though, for a defenseman is pretty good. Like, that's amazing. So he's not doing bad. Like, I know that he's always had a lot of talent. I just felt like in his draft year, he had a really long way to go in order to get to where he could get. But I mean, I'll take a look at him. He's on the list as well for me to take a look at some point this year, because obviously the points real good. So
the points, baby. He's a points
boy. He's a points boy. How was Sudbury? I've never been to Sudbury. Actually, that's not true. I went to Sudbury when I was 14. It's a place. It is one of the places of all time.
What a glowing endorsement.
But I think that this person is talking about maybe when I went to Niagara and saw Sudbury play. I mean, I love the Sudbury Wolves generally. I mean, I if that's not what you're talking about, then feel free, but I'm gonna go off. Kieran Walton was in that game. He obviously, I'm biased. He made me look smart, therefore I'm right. It was he didn't. I don't think he scored in that game, but he was quite good. Quinton Musty, I think that was one of his first games back with Sudbury, and he did. I mean, I don't know. I don't like to read body language too much, but he looked like he would rather be anywhere else. Just didn't really have much of a factor in the game, and I still think he ended up with 2 or 3 points. But yeah, I mean,
that's how good he is.
Yeah, I mean Hudson Chitteroni is kind of neat. He's a really young guy on Sudbury who really high motor, high skill. Didn't really do a whole lot with it, but definitely like a competitive, fun to watch guy who I'll be taking another look at some point this season. Um, but yeah, I mean they were good, but Kevin He was playing for Niagara, and Kevin He, who wasn't playing for them this weekend, Kevin He is very clearly the heart and soul and everything on the Niagara Ice Dogs.
Come on,
And
Will, you're forgetting. What is
what
he? He is.
him,
Yeah, there
right?
you
He is
go. He
him.
is he.
Yeah, he
Him.
is him.
He is him.
At least he is him. But yes, in the NHL or in the OHL this season, he's been quite something.
He's been him.
Uh,
Come on. Just
yeah,
lean into it.
yeah,
Lean.
fine. He's been him. Uh,
Also, Quentin Byfield played for the Sudbury Wolves for a long time ago.
he did.
Now, so
Yeah,
that's cool.
once upon a time. With regards to Fabian Lysell, I'd love for him to be an answer to the Bruins' troubles, but Bruins media almost unanimously doubt his attitude and compete. Thoughts on this as well as his current ceiling?
Cool. They can doubt him all
Yeah,
they want. I don't care.
yeah,
And he's
I
not.
don't
He's not the
care.
pure answer. He's part of the solution. Part of the
Yeah, like
solution. I'm not. I don't want to. I want to get this very clear. I am not claiming that playing him is going to magically change all the fortunes of the Boston Bruins. Just want to put it out there. But do I think he would provide, or he would be a great line mate for David Pastrnak to open up a lot of space and just go into it? Yeah, I think it would help them score a lot more because he's faster than everybody else on that team. I'm pretty sure. I don't think there's a faster skater in the Bruins organization. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I'm not because that guy is ridiculously fast. I remember watching the U18s, like some of the pre-tournament in 2021, and I remember audibly hearing one of the US coaches going, "Dude, 11 is fucking fast." Like that's what he said. I could hear it in the audio. He's fucking fast. And I'm swearing because I'm quoting because I think it's very funny. And yeah, like he's going to open up a lot of space. And isn't his possession numbers really good? Didn't you get like a quote from somebody?
Decently good. It's more about like offensive zone turnovers, like forechecking.
Yeah.
Like he's a really good forechecker. I mean,
and that's my brand of hockey. I love it.
People again, I really, really in the depths of my soul believe that there is just a natural fallback opinion on offensive players, especially if they're foreign. There's this natural bar that gets set of like, I don't trust their compete level. I don't trust their attitude. People said the exact same things about William Nylander when he was drafted. I'm telling you, like people were saying, I remember people saying that the Leafs should have drafted Nick Ritchie because William Nylander was lazy. And I mean, you watch William Nylander, I've never seen him in a game where I go, that's a lazy hockey player. Like, I don't think I've ever thought that to myself, at least no more than any other player in the National Hockey League from time to time, right? Like, if you go in with those biases, if you go in thinking, well, this Swedish hotshot kid who fell in the draft relative to where people had him ranked must be a basket case, must have these attitude problems. Like, number one, it's Boston. If there were stuff like that happening, you would know about it. Like, I feel like it would get reported and get out somehow, which it hasn't. And two, I disagree with the compete level thing. Like,
he is the most
a competitive guy.
dude I've ever seen. He gets so mad. He gets so mad that he'll like. Tony told me a story about seeing a game of his in person, and like something happened to one of his teammates, and he just like cross-checked the guy in the back like a bunch of times.
Yeah,
because he's a little rat. He's a little rat, and I love that about him.
Yeah, and I think I just think it's this like subconscious bias where you go, fancy pants, Swedish kid.
But he's not even that fancy. Like
I know, but I'm saying
he's not fancy at all. He's more of a, like, to me now, he's more of a middle six, just go out there and get the puck kind of guy and give it to the more skilled, like the more offensive leaning player. That's what he is. And I love that about him. I do not care. He could play on a third line, and I wouldn't have a problem with it. Just play him. He's a tenacious bugger. He's really
Jerk.
good. He's a jerk. Yeah, he's a jerk,
Yeah.
man. Him and Trent Frederick would cause havoc together. It'd be awesome.
Yes.
There's a role for him. That's all I'm saying. And there's another question about him later where our commenter calls him a bum, but not actually, which I found pretty funny, so don't worry about it. But, like, just play him. I don't understand what the hesitation is. Your team sucks, and this is a player that you've invested a first-round pick on, so what the hell? Just give him a shot. That's why it's baffling.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with him is 2 primary assists at even strength the last 2 games or last 3 games. But
Oh, yay!
4 even strength points in his last 3 games, I must say.
Hooray!
But I mean, like, the thing with him has always been, overthinking, getting himself into trouble, losing possession of the puck. But, like, my whole thing, and again, this was a thing with William Nylander too. He had this habit when he was younger of being super, super confident to a fault where you're like, okay, but at some point you got to move the puck quicker. I don't want to spoil the whole video, but one of the things that I think is super positive about a guy like Ivan Demidov's game that I saw relative to where he was at the beginning of the year and last year is he is thinking and executing a lot quicker. He's not trying to be the guy all the time, do everything himself, carry the puck, do everything himself. He's doing give and goes. He's working off the puck. He's finding space off the puck. Just all these things that, like, a hockey player needs to know how to do at the professional level. And I feel like Lysell is still a little bit behind on that regard, but I don't think it's so bad that other people deserve a look before him, right? Like, I just feel like in the modern NHL, you got to play him, let him make mistakes and learn. And also, you're the second worst offense in the Eastern Conference. Like, you're not going to win, especially if you're in that situation and your call up is Jeffrey Veal. Like, that's not going to give you an all of a sudden boost your entire offense, right? Like, and I'm not saying, again, like you said, Lysell's not going to do that, but it's a step in the right direction, to at
He's
least
part of the solution, not
right. You send Mark Kastelik to the net when he's on the line, when he's on a line with Lysell, and Lysell will find a way to get the puck to the net, and Kastelik can bang it in. I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there. But anyway, I mean, we don't have to talk about Fabian Lysell all show for the 3rd straight time, but it is interesting.
Yes, we do. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, anyway. But yeah, I mean, with regards to his attitude and compete level, like, I feel like we would
Most
hear about
competitive guy
things.
ever, honestly.
Yeah, like,
that's
it's
why I
also,
love him so much. Literally,
Yeah.
that was the big selling point for me. How much he cares.
Everybody is on him already for attitude stuff. So if there were any problems, then it would be like specific reports, like him getting healthy scratched, or, oh, he missed a team meeting, therefore he's a healthy scratch. But, like, I don't know. I don't live in Boston, but I don't recall hearing anything like that at all. And if there's an NHL team out there that's going to hold someone to a high standard, it's, as far as I know, the Boston Bruins.
Solution: just play him, and that's it.
Play him even if he sucks.
Yes.
What do you think
actually.
so far of the movement between NCAA and CHL players since the announcement? I mean, it's kind of hard to stay on top of it. It's kind of making my head spin a little bit, but it's the floodgates have opened, right? Like, we're in that kind of like mad scramble phase of the whole thing, where colleges are shipping out offers and players are moving around all of a sudden, and there's all kinds of moving parts. It's a bit of a chaotic time of the year. But I mean, I think it's exciting. I mean, I don't have any specific players who are going to a higher level, whether it's BCHL to the WHL or OHL or, whatever. But you are seeing names leaving those levels of play and coming back to Canada. And I think the CHL is going to get a lot more competitive. The USHL and the BCHL and the AJHL, like, the thing I will be very curious about is how the players who stay have their production affected. So, like, if you're a Jeremy Larange, who I get the feeling is going to leave the AJHL or BCHL, but assuming he stays and he's a player who's like 2 points a game there, Is he going to jump even more in production when all the best players in the BCHL leave and go to the CHL? It's going to be interesting to see how it happens. But like, this is the interesting thing about the American system of governance, where it's like the government didn't really pass a law saying, okay, the NCAA all of a sudden can't discriminate against Canadian junior players just because they make like $400 a month. It's not like that. It's that like the courts, like people have sued the government about these kinds of things, and the courts are the ones who are kind of deciding, okay, fair enough, we will allow this. You can commit to university even though you played I think it was Austin Swankler who kind of got this all started. And he kind of just went like, make me not commit to university, make me not go if they want me, right? Like it was kind of like that kind of thing. And it was kind of cool. Like, it's kind of cool. I think it's a very interesting thing that's shifted, and it's happening very, very quickly. As far as I've been told, I've been following this in my own time for like a year. It's happening way faster than I was told it was going to happen, and it's way more liberal than I was told it was going to be. I was under the impression that the CHL was going to, move heaven and earth to keep things as insulated as possible. But I think that now it's becoming pretty clear that the CHL actually stands to benefit from this, like pretty significantly, one way or the other. And so the floodgates have opened, even though there's no specific rules ironed out, and the CBA with the NHL is still not on the same page, and all this stuff. It's an exciting time to be a CHL player. I think the opportunity to go to the NCAA and get a really good education from a really good university in the US on a scholarship and play US college hockey is really cool. It's a really exciting opportunity for any player. And so the fact that more college programs are going to be more competitive because of this also is a big factor, right? Like they'll be able to pick and choose from CHL players who, let's say you're a CHL player and you're 20 years old, you could go to college, get a degree, do that thing, or you could try to make it work in the ECHL, play for the Fort Wayne Comets. That's one option. Or you could go to Harvard, right? You could go to Yale, or hell, the Air Force. Actually, I don't know if a Canadian would be able to go to the Air Force because that's West Point, and I don't think, or no, not West, that's the Army. My U.S. military knowledge in their college sports is very low. But anyway, you get my point. Lots of opportunities for players, which I'm all for, even though I'm also a very big proponent of like going overseas and playing over there, because it's a great experience relative to the lowest low levels in pro hockey in North America. But stay in school, kids.
You can do
school
both.
is worth it. You could do both. You could go to college and then go to Europe. Do whatever you want, right? Like it's more options, which I'm all about. Reese Hamilton thoughts. Seems like the type of player that could really improve in a bigger role next year. I mean, I've seen him a few times. I get the feeling that he may not be there too long because they just went out and got someone who kind of slots in for his job. I haven't really been like over the moon with him this year, but he's very smart and gets around decently well. AJ, think like a Travis Dermott type guy.
Okay.
Smart passer, gets around okay. Not the most physical guy, but kind of gets away with it right now. But NHL upside, I feel like, is kind of weird. I do want to take another look at him. I have him at like the very, very tail end of my list right now because I don't want to forget about him. But I also am not, I think he was given a B rating by Central Scouting, and I'm not sure I fully get behind that. But I mean, I guess if he's in my third round, which is the end of my list, that's a B, I suppose, because it's second and third round. Anyway, you get my point. I watched the John Jones fight. I actually did not watch that, obviously, because it was on at the same time. I heard that was a good one, too. An actually good fight. I can't always watch live. Is it better for you if I watch the video on YouTube or stream/download on Spotify?
It's probably best on YouTube, but do what's best.
I would say best on YouTube. Like, yeah, do what's best for you. I would say Spotify. The only problem is that, number one, I'm slow uploading things to Spotify because since these videos are so long, it takes a long time to process the video so that I can download it from YouTube, then I got to scrape all the video out of it, export the audio, get all the metadata ready, and put it in Spotify. So it can sometimes take a long time. I honestly just forgot to upload Thursday's episode to Spotify over the weekend. I was busy recording videos. So I'll get that up tonight for people who listen to the podcast. I know there are people who do that. But I mean, YouTube is always, I think, the best experience for everybody.
It really depends, though, like, because with YouTube,
I mean,
you can't turn it off. Like, this is a show that you could probably not watch our screen and be okay.
oh yeah, yeah.
So
You can't come back to it.
no, so it all depends, but
Yeah.
I think it probably makes us more money if you watch us on YouTube.
Yes.
Because of the
we don't.
ads.
Spotify, no.
But do its best for you, honestly. Do its
Yeah.
best for you. It just
Yeah.
might not be out there because Will's lazy.
Yes. Yeah. Last week on Monday or Tuesday or whatever it was, but yeah. Anyway, what do you see as the long-term floor and ceiling for Oliver Bonk at the NHL level? Oh, there's a name. Oliver Bonk, eh?
Third pair guy, yeah.
Yeah, like bottom 2 pair, physical, 200 foot. He can shoot. I would not be a guy putting a power play through him, but penalty killer, sure.
Yeah, big body, can just block.
Big, nasty guy who can move the puck okay. He does things okay, and then there are things that he does quite well. I feel like the skating is still a bit of an issue. It's better than it was from what I remember, but yeah, like a bottom 2 pair guy, I'd say that'd be perfectly fine on my team.
Like 5th, 6th defenseman at best,
Yeah.
4th, but low end 4th.
Yeah. Yep. Something like that. Maybe an okay 4th if things go right, but yeah. Have you seen any of Ivan Demidov? Hey, there you go. A report I've heard is that he's really good off the rush, but looks weak in puck battles and unimpactful on the cycle. That is false.
Just you wait for tomorrow, because that's
wait
what
until
the video
tomorrow,
room is.
Because
Going to be.
If anything, I feel like it is the opposite. Honestly, I mean, I haven't seen every game he's played this year. I just don't have enough time in the day. And I'm not a nerd. I mean, I am, but I'm not that kind of nerd.
You're not just a pure Demidov stan.
No, I'm not a Demidov. I mean, I am a Demidov stan, but I'm not going to sit and watch every single game he plays because I got other things to do.
It's funny because we were watching him 2 years before his draft year and talking about how this guy's awesome. I dubbed him the Demigod 2 years before because I just thought it was a funny name.
Yeah, he's awesome. But yeah, I mean, you'll see tomorrow. But I mean, the puck battle thing, number one, that's not really his job. But number two, he's way better at it than he was a year ago today. And unimpactful on the cycle is false. That's just wrong. It is wrong.
Yeah, and from editing the stuff I've seen, I agree with Will.
It is wrong. Should I trade my first round pick, likely 13 to 20 range in my dynasty fantasy league? I have Brad Lambert and Seamus Casey in the minors. I mean, what
depends
are you
on
getting
what you're
for
gonna
him?
get, but like,
what are you
it's not
getting?
the worst thing in the world because you're better off just getting players that you know have a role.
Yeah, like
because honestly, in dynasty drafts, that is more magic beans than actual draft picks are, because draft picks you could turn into a useful player. Fantasy, you need to score fantasy points. So players are less useful if they don't do a specific set of things. So if you can get something good for it, be open to it. But also, don't be gung-ho trying to trade it necessarily either. Just feel out what the offers are, and if you can find something where you can get a useful player, take the useful player, because it's magic beans.
Yeah, totally. Thoughts on Sasha Boumedienne and Philip Ekberg? Where should they go? I actually have to get another look at Ekberg because, I mean, I've never been a huge Philip Ekberg guy. He just seems like a guy who has really good hands in the offensive zone. Pretty good off-puck player as well with Ottawa when I've seen him, but as of right now, I think he's in my third round, maybe late second. Let me just double check that. What?
The next comment is, don't feel bad. Elliot Friedman says, Detroit, just like you. I
Yes.
know he does. I know he does. It drives me crazy. Drives me
um,
nuts. And I remember I finally came on here. I'm like, Will, you can't say it like that anymore. You can't say it like that
yeah,
anymore.
lesson learned. But yeah, I mean, Ekberg, I haven't really been blown away with him. I still have him relatively high relative to where I want to have him because I know I've seen better out of him than what I've seen in Ottawa. So we'll see what happens. I'm still pretty elastic on him. But there are players I've seen that I've liked better than him. Guys like Vinsagi, uh, Justin Carbonneau, Caleb Desnoyers, Jake O'Brien. I mean, I did watch Jake O'Brien on the weekend, and he did not do a whole lot, but he didn't look bad. But yeah, I think with Ekberg, it's just the expectations are they seemed very, very high. And I just don't, I just haven't seen it yet. And
Oh,
with what?
the David Phillips question came in
Oh,
that I was
goody.
laughing at. We'll read it later. We'll get to him in a bit, but
Okay,
it is
we'll
funny.
get there. Yeah. Um, Boumedienne, I think he's a guy. Like, I think Boumedienne is an okay skating 200-foot dude. I don't know what his job is on an NHL team, but he is fine. If he can fill out and get a little stronger, I think that would help. But yeah, he's in my late second, like middle of my second round right now. I just haven't really seen much of an impact player in the NCAA. Granted, he's one of two 07s this year. But even then, it's like I don't know even what he's trying that isn't working that you can work on to, he just seems to be feeling it out, not trying to take on too much risk, not trying to whatever. It's interesting. I feel like I mean, again, it's like Ekberg. He's right where I kind of feel like I would have him now, where if I put him any lower, it's because I watched more and it was more of what I've seen and against the grain of what I expected, or I still have plenty of room to move them up because it's like, oh, maybe they just had a slow start or whatever. And somewhere in the middle, I'm kind of like, yeah, like, I don't know, maybe it's a not great season, but they might not be the most excited players, or I'm not the most excited about them, but I'm not super down on them. Any thoughts on Nick Lardis this season? Back-to-back hat tricks has been impressive. I mean, yeah, he scored a hat trick yesterday, which was cool. I actually watched him a lot yesterday with David in Niagara, and the thing about Nick Lardis is that he's another one of these guys where he is small and quite skilled and has a really nice shot. He uses his shot a lot from all over the place. Um, and the big thing with Lardis to me that I noticed was he has that I'm going to do everything thought a lot of the time where he'll skate into traffic, he'll skate into players, he'll take on way too much risk, he'll eat the puck along the boards. But he does it because he's good and tries to move the needle himself because in the OHL he definitely can. Um, I feel like there's a lot to like there with him, but I still feel like he's small, gets knocked off the puck too easily, doesn't really see the game as well as I think you would want him to. Um, but can really score and really hammer the puck and really do a whole lot pretty darn well. So he's having a really good year. I would like to see him in the AHL at some point before I get like too excited because I feel like as a complementary offensive guy, I feel like there's still a bit of a ways to go, but the talent is there for sure for a good player. Random players time. Thoughts on Dmitry Isayev and Matthias Van Hanen? I mean, so I've seen Van Hanen a bit and I dig him. I've been meaning to actually circle back on him. Isayev, who is this guy? Right, Yekaterinburg. Right, I think this is the small guy. I mean, he's yes.
The small guy. All of them are
He's
small guys. That's what we get asked about on this show. How good is this
it's
small
true.
guy?
But this guy I remember, he's 5'9", 145 pounds. This guy I remember because he
So
looks like a
he's
child.
smaller than me.
Yeah. I mean, I remember this guy. He's really quick as far as I can remember. He's a player that I have been meaning to circle back on. He's just a super, super quick and skilled guy who I'm going to take another look at. I see that he at least played on the KHL team. He got 2 minutes and 18 seconds of ice time on Saturday, so good for him. Yeah, like I just felt like with him, it was again like he's really small, and I with an Ivan Famine, that guy, I was like, well, he's aggressive, he goes hard, he's physical, he tries a lot. Not saying that Isayev doesn't, but there just isn't that like that I will do whatever it takes to get the puck and move it in the right direction type with Isayev. That I've seen of a guy like Famine. But I'm happy to change my mind on that. Van Hanen, though, I appreciate the reminder because I have been meaning to take another look at him because of everyone in Finland this year. How do you spell Van Hanen? Anyway, whatever.
It's just Van.
There it is. Van Hanen.
Yep.
I got it.
Okay.
Matthias Van Hanen. Yeah. So I'll take another look at him as well because I've been meaning to for quite a while.
You know what we should do? We should have a part at the beginning of the Q&As from now on where we circle back on all the guys that you've been asked about. Like
that is a good idea.
Prior episode.
Yeah,
so let's do that.
We should do that.
Let's do
that.
So
we'll do that.
Who's the one that you need to check out from here?
Well, we'll say I'll give you the list after the show. I'm writing these down.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, we'll do that.
If we remember, we have to remember.
We'll remember. I usually keep the tabs open and get to it eventually. Don't worry about it. We'll get there.
Cool.
But good idea. Smart boy. This is what you're here for.
Yes, and that way we'll have a pre-planned segment.
Yeah,
for content. The shows. We'll have.
There you go.
We can be lazy now. We have something ready to go.
Yeah, exactly. Thoughts on London getting Haltonen back? I mean, they don't. He's gonna fit. They are a scary team. They are physical. They're intense. They are smart. I mean, with the puck, I mean, they can play a little bit silly sometimes and try to rip the heads off their opponents a little too much. But sometimes that's the case. But I mean, he's gonna hammer pucks again. He's gonna score. He's gonna get points. He's big. He's heavy. I mean, I feel like he's gonna find a way to be a depth NHL guy who can hammer the puck and be big and heavy and physical. I still wonder about the pace of his game, he'll play. And London gets better with him, and London's already quite good this season. Not counting COVID years, do you think you've ever been burned by a small sample size? I know you say a couple of games is sufficient for you to paint the picture. I mean, so a couple of games is kind of where I start to feel comfortable knowing what I'm seeing. But in terms of like the data solidifying and everything, it's around 5 or 6 games where I kind of go, all right, you're getting enough data points here where you kind of have a decent picture of what you're getting. But burned by a small sample size, I mean, I'm sure they exist. There are definitely.
I can give you one of yours, yes. Matt Nyes, but that's because he wasn't great.
Well, there was other. Yeah, he had mono and he was injured that season. I mean,
it was the COVID year.
Yeah, and Toronto. I mean, again, like Toronto knows they're not dumb. Toronto has a big staff. They know what they're doing. And they have, I mean, you would hope that the guys that they draft develop well because they have a billion development coaches and an entire staff of people devoted to this
Haley
kind of thing.
Wickenheiser, I think, is also
and Haley
a big
Wickenheiser,
part of
yeah.
that. So they got a lot of personnel and big name personnel too.
Yeah, but like small samples where I got burned.
Maybe. Let's go back to 2020. Maybe
I'm looking at that now.
I know you were big on Jacob Perreault.
Yeah, but I had him like in the 20s.
Okay.
And I saw him, and again, like he's another one, and I've said this on the show a bunch of times. He's one of those guys where he shot the puck a ton, and it was never from scoring areas. Like he had a wicked shot, but I've learned over the years that it doesn't matter. Like you could have a wicked shot from the boards. It doesn't matter. NHL goalies are going to stop it. NHL defensemen are going to block it. You got to get to scoring areas. That's why I have a guy like Michkov not on my Calder ballot right now. I think he has more shots from below the goal line in the corner than he does from in front of the net. I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure.
That's
So it's
not
like
good if it's true.
And it's not gonna I'll send you the heat map afterwards, but it's just not gonna happen, right? Look at Alexander Holtz. At the time,
Ooh, that's
there
a
was
good
so
one.
much evidence that Alexander Holtz was like, and I had a full data set on Holtz, but I went at him and I went, I mean, the shot quality on its own can beat goaltenders. It's just he never got to scoring areas. He was fast in a straight line, didn't really pass the puck a whole lot. It was just a give and skate play and then shoot. And it's a really amazing shot. It's really great. But again, this is why I'm skeptical of players that score and score and score and score and score. And then the assist totals aren't necessarily there. And there are reasons for that. And it's not just because they're just the main shooting target. I don't know. I had Thomas Bordeleau pretty low. And I remember that one. I saw a little bit of him and I went, wow, this guy's got a lot of skill, but I didn't really see the size working out long term, and but he seems to be doing okay. Who do like I'm trying to see here.
I don't know if I don't know if there's a good one with just small sample size for
Yeah,
you.
like I don't usually rank guys high with a small sample size. So it's guys I would just probably not have seen much of. Brock Faber. I definitely didn't see enough of Brock Faber. I thought he was maybe a middle bottom pair defensive defenseman in the NHL, and he turned out to be quite something. I didn't factor in the age enough, and I just didn't pay enough attention to him for sure. So yeah, I mean, I can only watch so many guys, right? It's not going to be everybody, and but anyway, sometimes it'll happen. What do you think of Nickel Erickson? Super skilled, in my opinion. Not much else. I feel like he's too small, doesn't get around guys well enough, but he's fun to watch. I've got another game of his ready to go, so I'll take a look at that one. But and I've been meaning to because I'm curious, but I was a little underwhelmed the first game I saw him. I was a little underwhelmed watching him in Norway last year. He's fun to watch. I feel like he'll be a key member of the Norwegian junior teams and maybe the pro team down the line or the top division team down the line. But in terms of an NHL prospect, I don't know. I feel like it's a bit of an uphill battle. If the Blackhawks pick first overall, who do you think they should pick? Probably James Haggins. You just keep loading it up. I don't know what else you would do, right? Like,
yeah,
if like, I mean, I guess there's other options you could go for. But I mean, at this point in the season,
do you feel like there's really do you think the top 4, any of them could go first overall, or are you just like really?
I mean, no one as of right now. It's unanimous. Haggins is ranked first by everybody, I believe.
Not everybody, I don't think.
Is it not?
I think
it is not. You're right. Yeah, it isn't.
I think Martone has snuck his way in on Pronman's list.
Haggins was number 2 on Pronman's list. Yes, and that's it. But like, I feel like you're only drafting Porter Martone first if you're Chicago because you have centers, or because you feel like you have centers and you don't need any more.
But they've been kind of thin at that position this year, so
and like I don't think Oliver Moore as a center is a certainty in the NHL.
I think
as much as I love him,
I think
I would try him there.
I think he's a C, honestly, I really do, but that's just me. And it's not the worst thing to convert a center to a winger, so. But they do they've got speedy guys on the Blackhawks, so it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world for them to grab a Porter Martone if they wanted to. Like Porter Martone with Connor Bedard, I think would be really hilarious.
Yeah,
I agree. I can pitch that and feel pretty good about it. So really, they should just go with the best player. And like, I haven't seen any of James Haggins this year. I've been lazy. Well, lazy, but I've just been editing footage. And I've only really seen Misa and Martone of those guys
Yeah.
because those are the guys I've been editing footage of. So
Yeah. I mean, the fact that Matthew Schaefer is a year younger and I think projects very, very well is interesting. But I am nowhere close to confident enough to say Schaefer. If Chicago is first overall, Schaefer jumps to 1. Passing on James Hagens is a big decision because I love him. And I love Michael Misa. I love Porter Martone. Victor Eklund has been spectacular this season. So I feel like all of these players will fill different roles extremely well. But Hagens, I think, still just brings a little bit more of things that you always wish you had more of. But I also am intrigued by the idea of Matthew Schaefer because of the age difference and the dynamic offensive ability with Schaefer.
They got their number 1 D man.
That's true. They have their number 1 defenseman, right? I forgot.
They got their number 1 D man. That spoiler alert is the video room coming out on Wednesday.
That is true. Wednesday. Yeah. Do you apply statistical tests for significance in your data? That's a really good question. And this is one of those things where people smarter than me will probably have more information about this or more ideas, but I don't know what I'm testing for. So I don't like when I take all my data, I'm not boiling it down to then like I know that what comes out the other end with all of the confounding variables in my data set, it's gonna be noisy. Like it's kind of garbage in, garbage out. But not that my data is garbage, but to model things out, like what is the end goal, right? Draft position? Because I'll tell you right now, there's going to be zero correlation between draft position and overall results in my game. What value does a better offensive transition player bring to the table? Like, that's not really the point of what I do anyway. Like, the point of what I do is to sit back and go, okay, this person said this thing about this player. Maybe that's true, but they're missing a whole bunch of other stuff that matters way more, right? Or they're giving this player praise for XYZ, but they are not quite getting it right? Like they're kind of, maybe missing a
play
bit of
style is what your data really does.
That's what I'm doing. Yeah.
And
it's
having
not,
tracked data, like I've done tracking work for Will before where I've done it, and like I know how he tracks his data because I've done it for him too. But like you're just capturing play style. You're seeing what kind of offensive transitions or defensive transitions they go for. Are they passing it out of the zone? Are they carrying it into the offensive zone? Is it controlled? Is it uncontrolled? Really what it is just it's capturing what the player is doing rather than telling you, oh, this player is 99.9% projected to be a star because they score this many points. Like NHLE, the dumbest thing out there. Because I do
have that. I have done the math to build sort of a NHLE kind of score that I give to prospects, but I don't trust it fully. It's like I tracked a game of Theo Stixelius today. He's got 31 points in 21 games in the Swedish Junior League. Is that a first overall candidate player because he's a point and a half a game? No, I don't think so at all. Why? Right? Tell me why, if that's not the case. If someone is looking at that and goes, look, this guy might be one of the most undervalued players in the entire draft, and I go, okay, I feel like that's not true, but tell me why, right? And you can't just say, well, he has a lot of points. Like, that's not a good argument in my opinion. Not. So
points, we don't care about how many points you score in junior, and like it's got to be, what are you doing? What are you doing to get those points? How are you contributing? Are you bringing the puck in with speed? Like, what is your role? And that is what Will's data captures, because it's all about, can this player translate, and what are they doing? Or not even about what can they translate, it's how are they, or what are they doing on the ice? That's literally all it is. What are they doing on the ice?
But even looking at like my NHL score stuff that I do, it's handy as a reference. But you asked about like testing it for statistical significance. Like, I guess you could do a statistical test of that score relative to future NHL output. but the confounding variables in that are enormous, right? Like who are they playing with in the NHL? Who are the teams that are drafting them? Where were they drafted in the draft? Because there could be
How are
biases
they
there
being
that affect the
played?
results.
Like,
Where were they? Right. I'm looking at my list now. Victor Eklund is a quote unquote significantly worse performer than Schaefer, Martone, Misa, and Hagens, but he's right there with them in terms of draft position for me. And so why is that? It's like, well, because
league.
I've seen him and the league quality is really high, but his production, the league quality is really high, but so is the league quality in the NCAA and the OHL. So if you have a kid who's, let's say, a year younger than Victor Eklund playing defense and scoring over a point a game, like Matthew Schaefer is, he's going to score extremely high in my model. Whereas Eklund, who is having a really good season, he's almost eligible for last year's draft. It's just also he's having a really, really good year on a men's team, but Hockey Allsvenskan is also not the highest, hardest level of hockey out there. And he is quite old for a first-time eligible, so it makes him look a little worse, but I'm not concerned about it. I know because I've seen the details. I've seen things, and I go, okay, but yes, but no. So anyway, yeah, I mean, it's a good question because I've thought about it a lot myself. I just don't know what output I'm testing against, and I don't know if it's even really worth doing because there's just so much that goes into it, right? Where players come from, how much do they play, how much are they playing at even strength, how much are they playing on the power play, how much, where are they ranked on average, right? Because I feel like that gives people biases of what a player's value is. Oh, this guy, everybody says he's a first round pick, therefore he must be a first round pick. And then people like me come along and I go, I'm not so sure about that. He might be like a second or a third. You look like a clown to these people, but it's like, but you kind of look a little deeper than this and start seeing some other things, but it's really hard to pick that out just by looking at statistics or the data that I track. I can't even really do that myself, and I'm the one who makes the data. Would you rank Demidov first overall in 2025? Probably, honestly. Assuming he was the same age, like let's say he was a year younger and eligible now, playing the way he did last season, I think he would be there. Like I would have drafted him ahead of Martone, Misa, Eklund, Hagens, maybe. I'd say him and Hagens would be real close. Misa too, I'd say, but him and Hagens for sure. But yeah, I love Demidov. He's great. Why were you wrong about Matthew Knies? 8 goals in 19 games. Well, number one, it pays to play with Mitch Marner and Austin Matthews.
Hey, he hasn't been playing with Austin Matthews recently.
Oh, right, because Matthews is gone.
And we still beat the Oilers. That's right. I gotta make fun of Ray Ann. What the hell was Evan Bouchard doing on all 3 of those goals, man?
What is it? What was it we called him back in the day, way long time ago?
Evan Bouchard. No, but
we love it. We love Evan Bouchard.
I love Evan Bouchard.
Tough.
Hey, man, tough. He gifted my team a win. How can I not love Evan Bouchard?
That's true.
But he's really great.
Anyway, the question was about Matthew Knies. I mean, I remember him in his draft year. And yeah, I mean, that was a miss. And I think a lot of teams felt that way. I went back and looked. There was one outlet that had him in the first round, and I think they had him at 13. I think it was Hockey Prospect, which is an outlet, honestly. Like, I know some of the people that are there. They have hot takes sometimes to people, but a lot of them, when I look at my thoughts and my notes on these players, I kind of go, yeah, I agree. Like, I might not agree as much as where they have these guys, but like they sometimes put guys in the first round or whatever where I'm going, wait a minute, what? And then I'll look at sort of the context of which they're put, and I'm going, okay, I think they might have a point here, right, with this player. And kind of when you listen about what they're talking about and they really think a lot about what the NHL is like, which I like to do as well. And they called Matthew Knies really well. Because the year he was draft eligible, I think he had mono. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure he had mono. And he also, I believe, had a knee injury or something. And those two things combined definitely make sense. And I did not know he had mono, I believe, until after the draft was over, because I was watching the Super Series afterwards, or the summer camp for World Juniors, and Knies looked unbelievable there. And so I texted someone I know who I was like, wait, what's the deal with this guy? And they're like, oh yeah, he just feels better now. He's not injured. He whatever. And I'm like, well, then why did no one pick him? And they're like, well, he wasn't a sure thing, right? Like as a late second round pick, there's a lot less risk if you whiff on a big guy. Let's say he ends up as a fourth line guy because he just never really catches up, then you're still making an okay pick. But if it's 15th overall and you feel like there's risk, that's a huge other side of the coin. So good for Toronto. I mean, they took the plunge around where you probably should have.
Yep, and I was mad because I wanted Simon Robertson. So
Lots of people were. I remember.
I'm happy that I was wrong. Very happy I was wrong, and he's really great.
And yeah, I mean, in my case, I also really liked Simon Robertson there, and I still am a believer in him. He's in his first season in the AHL right now, but I mean, it's hard to ignore that Matthew Nyes, out of pretty much everybody in that draft in that range, I think he's like the only one who's a real serious NHL player, which is kind of amazing when you think about it, because pretty much everyone else relative to Nyes would have been basically a miss. So anyway, why was I wrong? I mean, I saw the physicality and the sort of strength in his game, but I didn't think the pace or the skill level or the finishing ability was enough to really project him as much more than a bottom six NHL guy, maybe. And I definitely still didn't value his style of play as much as I do now. Those guys who can absorb pressure, who, even if you think they're a bottom six guy, they can still crash and bang and fill in a spot on a lineup. And if they have some skill, you can work with that and develop it and go places with that. So yeah, that's the style of player that I've definitely seen a little bit differently because of Matthew Nyes. Because I remember watching him in his draft here going, yeah, I see it, but also who knows? Tough call at the time, but yeah, definitely a learning experience.
Hey man, would have been better than going with what Ottawa went with at 10th overall. Which is kind of crazy because we saw Tyler Boucher in the Lysell game. And I didn't notice him at all. I was just like, oh, wait, he plays for this team. So.
Yep. Is John Tavares a Hockey Hall of Famer? That's a great
question. I don't know.
Oh, I think he's so close. Like,
I think he probably gets in. I don't know if I would do it, but he probably gets in.
I think he gets in. What are his career numbers to this point?
They're pretty good. Like he's even now,
he's 34. He's 34 and a point a game. Like that's pretty amazing. In the NHL in his career, he's over 1,000 points. He's 1,127 games played. Like who are the guys that have 1,000 points or more? There can't be that many.
Yeah, he probably makes it then.
He's in the top 100 point producers of all time.
Okay, he makes it. Never mind, he makes it. He makes it.
Like Lanny McDonald, Ryan Getzlaff, Brian Bellows, Alexander McGillney.
You know who's over a point per game in his career too? Or was
Zygmunt
in his
Palffy?
career? Oh, well, of course. But I think Matt Sundin was 3 points over a point per game in his entire career, and he played like 1,300 games.
Yeah,
which is pretty great. So I think based on that, I think it's hard to argue against it.
It's hard. It's hard.
It's just he's a weird era, like he was built for the older era, but he still scores points like
just for the
crazy
record.
Amount.
Just for the record, if you look at NHL players who have played 1,000 games or more and filter or sort by points per game, he is 51st in the league in history.
Okay, he's a Hall of Famer.
The guys around him, Sergei Fedorov, Mark Recchi, Mike Gartner, Daniel Alfredson, Doug Gilmour, Glenn Anderson,
these
Luke
are all Hall of
Robitaille.
Famers. So
those are all Hall of Famers. So I get the feeling
he's the Hall of Famer.
He should be there. It might take a little bit of time, but I think he'll go.
I think it's weird because like I said, we've changed eras kind of in the middle of his career. It's not as slow as it was when like in the early 2010s.
Yeah. Now, and the other thing to keep in mind, too, is he won an Olympic gold medal, and I get the feeling there's a very, very, very good chance that Canada won another gold medal if NHL players could go, maybe two. And I feel like John Tavares would have been on every single Olympic team for Canada in that time since.
He would have.
So if he doesn't have a Stanley Cup, but If he came away with
this year.
okay, if he came
Obviously,
away
I'm kidding.
with he's won the World Cup, say what you will. But 2 World Junior gold medals, if he came away with 3 Olympic medals, let's say 2 golds and a silver or something, knowing Canada, it might be like 2 golds and a 6th place finish. But if he did that, then I think that puts the accolade resume higher. But the fact that NHL players don't go to the Olympics or haven't been to the Olympics sucks. But anyway,
so
I
then
feel like
hot take: the whole core 4 is Hall of Fame worthy, or at least it will be.
William Nylander is the day he retires. He's going to get the Wayne Gretzky treatment. As soon as he retires, he's eligible. No waiting, no nothing.
He should.
That's nice.
he literally should just be inducted straight away.
He's just so good.
He is my favorite player of all time is William Nylander. I love William Nylander so much. Just seems like the coolest person as well. Like I would love to meet. I don't get starstruck. I think William Nylander would actually. I'd be starstruck by William Nylander, and I don't think there's anybody else on this planet who could do that to me. Because that guy is just so freaking cool. He's so freaking cool, man. He's so cool. I love him.
On that note, we can move forwards. Are you concerned about Jason Robertson or Wyatt Johnston's slow starts?
No.
So I actually, with Johnston, no. Definitely not with Johnston. I feel like he is not getting the goals that he should be getting. Robertson, I mean, is a little bit trickier. The numbers aren't looking amazing for him. He just seems to be not producing as much offensively or giving himself as many chances as he usually does, at least in scoring areas and such. But Johnston seems to be doing all the right things. He's a net positive on the power play, and he's getting his chances. But I feel like with Robertson, it's like, you're not paying Wyatt Johnston Jason Robertson money, but Jason Robertson is getting paid Jason Robertson money.
I thought Wyatt Johnston got a big deal.
Does it kick in already?
Oh, well, but
I thought it was an extension.
Well,
right,
but going to be paying him, right?
Yeah, he's still on his entry level now. Yeah, he hasn't got an extension.
Oh, he hasn't?
I don't think so.
Okay. Hold on, let me look at Puckpedia, the news source.
Yeah. Oh, their search does not work for me very well. Anyway, you can look that up. But yeah, I mean, on Elite Prospects, it looks like his contract ends this season. So
yeah, I'm not seeing anything.
Yeah,
but he's gonna make a lot. So
probably, I wouldn't be super concerned about Johnston, but Robertson maybe a little more. Blue Sky's threads.
You're mainly concerned because of where he's shooting from.
Yeah, and like the numbers aren't looking amazing. He's not a net positive impact player on either side of the puck this year. Yeah, and he's getting volume shots, but they're not going in really.
Well,
I don't know.
I hope he turns it around because I took him in 2 fantasy leagues. So you better do it. You better do the thing.
He's getting paid to be better than he is. Wyatt Johnston is found money still. Like anything he gives you on an entry level deal is worth it. And I feel like he's getting better chances than Robertson is, at least on paper.
Mm-hmm.
Blue Sky is Threads 2.0. People will switch for 10 minutes and go back to where the massive people are. Normally I would agree with you, but no, I barely use Twitter anymore. I use Blue Sky way more often now, especially now that there's way more people there. Again, Twitter is actively just bad now. That is the problem. That's the problem, right? Like, it's not that it's like, oh, like I'm sick and tired of it and whatever. It's just like the website itself is bad. Like, it is way too much going on all the time. And I just don't like being there anymore. And there's another option that is way cleaner with more customizable, curatable homepages that you can follow topics you're interested in. And it works. It works really well. And Twitter, God only knows what's going to happen to that website over the next few years. Okay, top 5 Russians you like this year. Oh, yes, Russians.
Will likes none of them this year. They all
suck. They're all bad. My top 5 Russians this year, Russians that are playing in Russia, I'm assuming is what you mean. Like I like Daniil Skvortsov with Guelph, but he's
No,
playing in Guelph.
I think you can count. I think it's just
I just don't.
Russian national. Like
Yeah.
just count them all because I think this year it's
All
much
right.
weaker, if I'm not
It is.
mistaken. So yeah, just
So
count him.
so my top one is still Ryabkin, but he's in my second round.
Oh
Uh
boy.
dude, he's been bad this year. I don't know.
Well,
Maybe
I
he
guess I
I don't
gotta
know,
change.
but
I guess I gotta change that title. The future of Russian hockey at center.
yeah, let's not talk about that. I like Roman Bausov as well, Russian kid, big defenseman. He's pretty good. Nikita Poltavchuk, I really like. Part of me wants. I was actually talking to Dylan Griffin about this because he messaged me the other day, and he's like, "I'm so close to putting Nikita Poltavchuk ahead of Ivan Ryabkin." He's like, "He's just been so not good this year that
Poor
I just want to do
Dylan.
it."
Poor
I
Dylan
know.
has to watch
Um,
the mess that is the Russian class this year.
yeah.
Then
After that, I've got Skvortsov and Guelph, Limitov with Dynamo Moscow, who I like. And then that's 5. And as an honorable mention, Ivan Fomin, because I can't not mention him. I also like Andrei Zavadsky, who's a defenseman playing with Omsk, and Alexander Zhuravsky playing with Ufa. Those 2 guys are a lot of fun to watch. Really fun. A draft eligible that will be selected from a random country. Ooh. I mean, David Phillips probably has some Latvian in mind, but I don't know if that's what you mean. Um, that's a great question though, and I love it because I love crazy, weird, random. He's not going to get drafted. He's not going to get drafted, but I'm still holding out hope for my boy Joserbek Rustamkhonov, uh, Uzbek player. I think it's Uzbek, playing in Czech Republic this year. There's a couple of Mongolian kids who go to a prep school in Ontario, which I love. They won't get drafted, but it's a lot of fun there. And I always just keep going back to that Asia Oceania under 18 Cup from last year because it was so fun. Like Thailand has a lot of fun players on that team. They're 15, 16 years old. But it seems like Thailand is trying to make a good push for hockey here because those kids could really play, at least
that's
for that level.
awesome.
But let me see here. Let's see what Elite Prospects has as weird prospects eligible for this year.
Oh, what's his name?
I don't know.
No, I'm trying to remember their meme guy, like the meme page that they have, like the guy who's from like Australia and Lebanon that they created. That's like
Oh,
not real.
Mustafa Lemieux.
Yeah, Mustafa
Yeah,
Lemieux.
Mustafa Lemieux. Um, I'm trying to think of like international
Isn't it
tournaments.
Australia and Lebanon? Like
Yeah,
that's
I
the
think that is what it is. Something like that. Yeah, it's a good time. Yeah, but usually you can go to like the Division 1A and Division 1B tournaments and see who is out there, but no one is really ringing the bell for me right now. I feel like there might be a couple on Hungary, but I don't think they're going to get picked. Like generally players from random countries like this that are playing in the countries they're from don't get picked because who has an NHL scout who's like, yeah, I'm going to go to a game in Hungary. Like they're not going to get anything out of that experience because also like there's no barometer. The only league I'd be comfortable sending a scout to that's kind of new is a new idea at least is Poland because there's a lot of data that suggests that Poland is actually a decent league in Europe. Um, but yeah, I mean, I'm not seeing a whole lot that really is ringing the bell for me here. Japan's always a fun team, but I don't think I'll live to see the day that a Japanese player from Japan, lifelong time in Japan, gets picked. Um, yeah, I don't see it, unfortunately. I mean, Simon Wang is Chinese. He's from China, and he's gonna get drafted. He might get drafted in the first round. So I don't know if that scratches your itch. But he's a gigantic boy playing for he might play for the Chinese team this year. I don't know. And I don't know if Mike Levin counts. I think he's a 2006. He plays for the Israeli team. So maybe if he gets picked as a reentry, he could be but I think he's from Toronto. But he plays for the Israeli national team.
well,
Anyway, But
Any Jew can apply for. No, well, it's true. You
I
can.
know they can. Yeah,
Hey,
citizenship.
I'm
Yeah.
Jewish. Okay, I can say it. I could say the word.
Oh, it wasn't. It was just funny because anyway.
But anybody who's Jewish can apply for Israeli citizenship. You have to join the army, but you can do it.
And I think hockey teams also have a partnership to get citizenship for players if they want to come over. Like if you wanted to play hockey in Israel, they'll give you citizenship. I don't remember how it works specifically, but there's something there too.
Yeah, I didn't mean for it to sound anti-Semitic, but I am Jewish.
Oh no,
so
no, I don't think anybody's thinking that.
Just putting that out there. Jewish heritage,
okay,
not religious. I don't believe in God.
Oh, Chad is clamoring for Dmitry Bachelnikov. Yeah, Bachelnikov is definitely on the list because I want to see that guy. Every time I've seen him, I'm still a doubter, but a good KHL player, fun, dynamic, skilled kid, definitely. He's proven that.
Also, shout out to J-Mulk. You just make me laugh with all the comments you put in, so keep doing that. I find a lot of your responses very funny.
Yep.
So keep doing what you're doing at, what is it? What time is it in Great Britain?
Like 4 a.m.
Oh, yeah.
Go to bed.
I appreciate you, man. I really appreciate you.
I'm the only one who's allowed to be up at that time of night. Is there anyone in the queue you would take in the first round? How much beer league the game is there? How much would you need a player to stand out to garner a first round ranking? Yeah, I mean, I have Q players in my first round this year. Bill Zonin I love Bill Zonin. I think Bill Zonin could be
best name in the draft.
Bill Zonin's on pace for a 100-point season this year. I think that he brings enough physicality, smarts, pace to the game where I would happily draft him. I feel like he's the type of player where if I was coaching him and getting in his ear, I'd go, look, man, you've got the size, you skate really well, just finish your checks more and you'll play in the NHL. Like he moves the puck at good times and with the right idea, and everything looks fine with him. He times things really well. He just seems to have a good feel for the game. It's just those like moments where you're like, oh my God, he's going to rock this guy, or, oh, he's going to, and then nothing really happens. And you're going, okay, like, maybe we'll work this into his game a little bit more. I am lower on Desnoyers and Carbonneau, but they're in the same tier for me, but those guys are both first rounders to me. I really like the raw skill Carbonneau has. I like how smart Desnoyers is. And I have lots of room in my mind to put those guys probably up as high as maybe 20, 25, somewhere in there, but they're a bit lower than that for me. So yeah, they're good players. It's a good year for the Q, relatively speaking. Emil Guite is in my second round. Alex Huang is in my second round as well. Nathan Quinn is down my list as well, pretty deep. Mostly because he's just really, really smart. I still have Marcus Kiersey on my watch list because he's having a pretty good year on an absolute
your boy Marcus
tire
Kiersey.
fire of a hockey team. Yeah, it's the Charlottetown is not doing so great, but he's doing okay. But yeah,
cool.
Decent year for the Q though. I'm not sure if you've watched this player, but whenever I watch Syracuse's Max Groshev always sticks out to me, but it doesn't appear the coach agrees. If you've watched him, what are your thoughts? I remember Max Groshev when he was a draft eligible, and my thought with him, I imagine it's still very much the same, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. I haven't seen Syracuse this year, but he always struck me as a guy where it's like, all right, if I'm drafting Max Groshev, I'm doing it because I think he was scoring pretty well in his draft year, but with him, I was sort of thinking, okay, he could be on my bottom 6 list, my bottom 6 ranking, or not my ranking, my bottom 6 on my lineup, and just be that physical sort of, just a physical presence on your team. He can work give and goes pretty well, pass the puck relatively quickly, and just be safe and dependable, but be a guy who goes and smashes and hits and plays physical. Because he's a pretty high paced guy on his feet. He's intense, and he's big. So that's kind of where I always came down on him. Dakota Rayon Mullen thoughts. I need to see more of him. Every time I've seen him this year, he's been kind of okay. He's got some good inside edges with the puck on his stick, where he can kind of make fancy little moves and dekes and shakes, and it works for him okay. But I feel like the depth of his game is pretty limited. And I went into this season a fan of his from what I saw the NTDP last year. We'll see. I'm not like totally down on him, but he's like in my late second round right now, early third.
So put him on the list.
Yeah. Top 5 biggest cliche phrases or stereotypes in analyzing prospects. Oh, that's a good question. Oof.
6 out of 5 compete.
Oh yeah, the button 6 out of 5s. That's definitely one of them. No offense to Craig Button, by the way. We're gonna try to get him on the show at some point, I think. But I think that's so funny when he does stuff like that. That's
the 6 out of 5 is when people compare draft prospects to Hall of Famers. That's pretty cringe. Like Owen Power to Victor Hedman. That's pretty cringe.
Player comparisons can get pretty cringe pretty quick. I'm going to pull up Sam Cosentino's last rankings because he always has bangers of...
but I guess Porter Martone's getting compared to Corey Perry, and I would not be surprised if he ends up in...
I don't hate that.
Well,
I don't...
he even, like, because I'm doing the research, like I said, for the article, or like in the article, and he says he models his game off of the Kachuk brothers and Corey Perry. So, and those are the 3 players he gets compared to constantly.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
What good size?
Toughest guy in the draft. I haven't heard it in a long time, but toughest guy in the draft is one that I always love. Like Dylan McElrath, top 10 pick. I remember when he got drafted, and the commentators were like, "Oh, he's the toughest guy in the draft." Teams are going to love this guy. Toughest guy in the draft. Hands made of steel. Blah blah blah. Toughest guy in the draft. I think Tyler Clevin. They said the same things. Yeah. What are some other ones?
Hockey IQ. What the hell is that? Just
yeah.
Just say what areas of the game they're smart with, like where they're intelligent. Like, why are we phrasing it in a way like it's something different? It's, are you smart or are you not? It does not mean, like, I don't know. I just find hockey IQ so annoying to hear. Like, it actually bothers me.
I think.
Do you feel that way too, or am I crazy?
Oh yeah, I mean any of those categories. Skating, like when people say he's a bad skater, I go, what do you mean? What does that mean? What, where, when, how, when? Like what? Is he like Bambi out there? Like is he like a 2-year-old learning how to ski? He's just not good at it yet. Like no, like clearly they're good at skating in some way, but another way is probably maybe a little bit further behind others. Like, what are you talking about, right? Hockey sense is the same thing. IQ is the same thing. Like, where on the ice? What situations are they good in or bad in, right? Is it all the time? Like, then what are we even doing talking about this player? So that is something that is on there for me. I also feel like this one is a little interesting too, of like, and again, I'm just going back to what I hear from people like Sam Cosentino on the draft broadcasts of like talking about where the player plays, especially if it's only CHL players. It's like they assign value to a player strictly because of where they play, but the teams that they assign up like high value to depends on the player that they're talking about, right? So like it'll be like, oh, Liam Greentree, like comes from the Windsor Spitfires class organization, top class organization. Meanwhile, they're like bottom of the standings, you know, and then next year it's like, oh, or the year before, oh, Easton Cowan comes from the London Knights, storied franchise, blah, blah, blah. You know, Colby Barlow, captain of the Owen Sound Attack, classy organization, top to bottom, you know, real scrappy group. They know how to turn out players, blah, blah, blah. And they'll bring up like someone who played there 10 years ago. That kind of is something that's always in the back of my head too. Sometimes I'm just like, I don't know. I don't know. I just talk about how the players play. That's really it, you know, but not a whole lot of people are out there going,
oh, J-Mulk, you bastard. The worst cliche in prospecting is when people cling on to a hope with a 5'11" winger drafted out of Lula.
Yeah. Like Noel Gunler. Boy. Anyway.
Hey, he was 5'10" at the time, so get your facts right.
He's grown, I swear. I'm not owned.
Again, J-Mulk, you hit the mark.
Yeah, nailed it.
Really
Go Flames.
appreciate you, man.
Okay, top 5 2021 redraft. Ooh.
Fabian Lysell won, obviously. No, we've been doing this a lot
Yeah,
recently.
we actually kind of have, but like I think there's a
Logan,
bunch of
it's
players
Logan
that you could
Stankoven. I think it's
Stankoven.
Logan Stankoven, who I also took in that year. So I don't care. I got Lysell and Stankoven because I do the same thing Will does, but with
Like
Seattle's picks. So I got the best player. I just got him in round
Wyatt
2.
Wyatt Johnston could
Yeah.
be probably really high.
Yep. It
Um,
probably goes in some order of Stankoven, Beniers, Johnston, maybe Eklund in that.
no, I think
No?
Hughes or
All right,
McTavish.
Hughes. Hughes is definitely up there.
Beniers, Hughes, McTavish, something like that.
Would you do, I mean, McTavish right now?
I don't know. I mean, he's a good NHLer.
Yeah,
He's what the Ducks crave and what they want, and that's what he is. You know.
fair enough.
I
But,
think he's in there, but Johnston for sure.
it's probably the Stars, I think, have the best 2 players.
Yeah. It's entirely possible. Yeah. But it's a good group. Like I think that top 7 or 8, like it's all good. The rest of it is a bit of a mess, but
Fabian's better
there's
than Owen
10
Power. Don't care.
it's like 10, 12 good players in there.
Brant Clark's been good too this year. At
Exactly,
least from
yeah.
a fantasy perspective.
Dylan Gunther's been good this year
Yes,
too.
Dylan
He's
Gunther
looked pretty
too.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Coronado's been pretty good. Like
that's
yeah,
cool.
they're coming
I'm
along.
happy to see that. Olin Zellweger's in that class too.
He is, yeah. Zellweger. Yeah.
I like him. I like him a lot. He actually,
Riker Evans.
it's funny because I did the Dauber, like when I was at Dauber, I did the write up on him, and he followed the Puck Analysis Instagram after I did the little write up on him, which is
Nice.
great. So, thank you, Olin. Very cool.
Yeah. Could Lysell jump into Buffalo's roster right now and something and make them better?
Let me look at the roster right now, but I would imagine yes.
Maybe.
I would imagine yes.
I feel like it wouldn't move the needle enough in the right direction. Boston is just desperate for a guy like him to push things up the ice a little bit more.
Let me go to Daily Faceoff quickly, but like I think Fabian Lysell makes every team a little better right now. Like having him would probably help. Like, yeah, would you rather have Fabian Lysell or Beck Malenstein? It's Fabian.
Yeah.
Like,
oh god,
I think he'd help.
David Phillips. Thoughts on Tanirkan Alpizbayev, the Kazakh goaltender who played at the under-18s last year and had a 758 goals against average with an 859 save percentage, playing AAA prep hockey in Ontario. Roll a 20-sided dice, and if it comes up 5, you draft him. I don't know. Like, what do you want from me?
Roll a D20, baby. Roll the D20.
Yeah. Live your life like a Dungeons and Dragons.
Everybody roll initiative.
Yeah, roll for initiative. Side note, had a Magic night with a buddy of mine the other night. Magic the Gathering still rocks. I'm a Magic the Gathering arena guy now. I'm back on the horse with the new card set, so it's a fun time.
I think you've talked about your Magic the Gathering.
Yeah, I know.
Quite a lot.
I don't care. I know. I'm gonna keep
pushing it. Nerd.
Yeah. What is the biggest disagreement me and AJ have had on a player this year? Well, AJ hasn't really watched much of anything.
No, I haven't.
So we'll skip that one.
We never really disagree that much because I just take what Will feeds me anyways. That's why do work when Will does the work for me?
Sure, and I've never steered you wrong ever.
I just ran with Fabian in my first year because I loved the way he played so much, and Will had him in his top tier. So I'm like, okay, I can do this because Will has him in the top tier. So I must not be stupid.
Yeah. Well, what do you know? Where would you guys rank Fonderk among the current U.S. program crop? Right now, he is number 3 on the U.S. NTDP for me. Moore, Mooney, and Fonderk are my top.
I will fall in line with Will because I haven't seen anything.
Yeah. Will Bell's another one that I've liked this year.
I actually will say I literally got my gig at Dauber because I just copied Will's work a little bit because I couldn't watch anything. So I just rephrased what he said and made it more concise. And Mr. Tony Ferrari's like, sure, we'll give you a shot. Like, awesome. Then I started watching stuff, and
Yeah,
Will,
the groupthink is real.
no, but Will, in my opinion's not that different most of the time. Like, I will come to Will with a hot take, and we'll be like, "Yeah, I agree with you." Like I said, Alex Tuck's better than Tage Thompson, and Will's like, "Yep, yes he is." You did say that. You did say
Did I?
that.
Yeah, I mean, anyway. I mean, I do love Alex Tuck a lot.
It's
He's
because
great.
he rocks. It's not that I hate Tage Thompson. I just really love Alex Tuck.
Yeah, heart and soul guy on my team any day.
Absolutely.
Thoughts on Henry Muse now? I mean, he's always been a good offensive producer. I just looked. I think he has 8 of his points this season in the last 5 games, like 2 4-point games in his last 5, I think. So, I mean, again, be wary of guys who score in bunches in a given game. Ethan Belchet's had 6 points in his first OHL game, and ever since he's been kind of a guy. But I mean, Henry Muse, I've always liked his offensive ability and moving the puck. He's really good at it. It's just the defending has always been the thing with me. Being I mean, maybe it's come a ways. I can't say I've seen him this year much at all. Luca Pinelli has 15 goals in 18 games. That's not bad.
Let's go.
Yeah, not bad. But Henry Muse, man, like he's a good offensive player, man. He's a fun one. The thing for me was like his style of play in the NHL is often tough to project.
All right, so we're getting close to the end here.
Yeah.
So we're gonna bang through some of these, ladies and gentlemen. We really appreciate you being around, but I'd like to go do something else now. But we'll make sure to attend to all your questions because we really appreciate you being here. And if you've appreciated us, please hit like on the video. Please do it. It helps us a lot.
Yeah, don't not.
But thank you for the questions, and we're gonna bang this out.
Yeah. When do you think we'll get a rankings blog post? Probably the beginning of next month. I'm gonna start putting together that after this week. I gotta look through I gotta do games of the highest high-end guys again, and then I'll have a better idea of what I want to do.
Very quickly, do we want to do a draft stream or like a ranking stream?
Absolutely.
We can do it with Tony. I think Tony would be interested in doing one where you two kind of reveal your rankings, sort of similar to the way you did it with Sam.
Yeah.
But only Tony won't spoil his rankings before the show. Sam.
Yeah, Sam.
Love Sam. He's the
forgot
best,
about that.
But that's amazing.
I'm allowed to comment obscure Russians because I know Scouch knows what my face looks like and can send a hit on me if he wants one. That's true. I could pick David out of a line, and that's a problem for him. Thoughts on rumors that prospects tickle each other to bond? I mean, whatever works, man.
Hey,
it's cool.
That's funny.
I don't judge, as long as it's a happy affair. Tickling's cool, man.
As long as it's consensual.
Yeah, as long as it's all kosher, then I'm good.
Consensual tickling.
Yeah, of course. I appreciate the sentiment, though. But yeah, I mean, personally, I'm not much of an appreciator of tickling. But, whatever. To each their own. I don't judge. Knowing my fellow Wings fans, you probably get questions about him a lot. But what have been your feelings on Pichelnikov? Okay, we kind of went over that a little earlier. I'm going to take a look at him at some point in the near future, and we'll do a thing on him for
But you
the
like
channel.
him.
I like him. I still don't know about NHL talent, but again, he's a really good example of why I love to draft Russians and just stash them in Europe or in Russia, I should say, for 6-7 years, and then maybe you give him a shot at some point. Love the channel. I know you don't have a lot of time to watch NHL hockey, but have you seen Natchez this season? Have any thoughts on a play? I love Martin Natchez. Honestly, one of my favorite players to watch in the league is Martin Natchez. I'm so glad that he's doing so well all of a sudden. I mean, they thought about trading that guy. Just always confused me. But
they were
I
trying
love
to
Martin
keep Jake
Natchez.
Gensel, I think, too. At
Yes,
the time.
yeah,
So
yeah,
kind of makes sense,
I mean,
but Natchez is more of a driver than Gensel. Like
yeah,
Gensel is like the most
skilled.
Gensel is like the most elite complementary player you'll find. Like he is.
Yeah.
Like he's a Zach Hyman type of elite complementary player. He's not like Zach Hyman, but he's that kind of elite level complementary player.
Yeah. Thoughts on Ivar Stenberg? I love Ivar Stenberg. I feel like this year he'd probably just in the back half of my top 10 behind guys like Schaefer and
Stenberg's
Markstone.
brother?
It is, yeah.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, Ivar Stenberg rocks. Every time I've seen him, he's been great. So, yeah. How high could he go next year? I mean, I don't know. I've penciled him in as like a top 5 guy right now. I mean, it's a tough group at the top next year. Guys like Verhoff and Lynn and McKenna and anyway, yeah, there's a few good ones for next year.
Ooh, here's the next question.
Mathis Preston.
Next question is about Landon DuPont. What are your thoughts?
Early thoughts, but yeah, what are your thoughts on Landon DuPont? Wondering your thoughts of high-level talent coming out of Canada in the past few years. Yeah, I mean,
he's
Canada.
Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, Landon DuPont rocks.
Go watch the game tape if you haven't.
Yeah, do that.
We do an interview with him. I put together a piece with Tony, and it's awesome if you haven't seen it. He's a really smart kid. I was super impressed with him. I got to talk to him for a little bit. Just really, really smart kid. Understands so much. Wise beyond his years. More mature than me, and I'm almost 24, and he's 15. So,
he was a good kid.
He's a great kid.
But yeah, I mean, he's unbelievably smart on the ice, just moving the puck up the ice. Great passer, like elite level passer. Really high skill level. I just think the trajectory on him is so positive. I'm trying to think of an NHL player that he kind of reminds me of, but it's not ringing any bells for me.
Kind of Adam Fox, maybe.
Yeah, there might be a bit of that to him. I think
he's like he's faster Adam Fox, which I like.
Yeah.
Because he's not Makar fast. Like he's not as blazing.
No.
Fast as Kel Makar, but like he's really good, and maybe he can get there if he I think if he works on that, then like his potential's freaking limitless. The guy's awesome.
Yeah.
And he's 15, so there's plenty of time.
Lots of talk around David Jiricek. Where would you put his ceiling and likely NHL output? Again, I've always been tepid on David Jiricek relative to other people. Like, again, I think he's one where people were throwing out insane comparisons about him at the draft. I was always
toughest guy in the draft.
Yeah, like skates like Victor Hedman, blah blah blah. Like Jiricek to me was always like a middle pair, good two-way guy. He had a lot of potential. The skill level was pretty good for a guy his size. He lacked a lot of quickness, and he defended with his arms a lot. I've noticed a lot of young defenders defending with their arms when, a lot of defending is done with your legs, right? Like you're using your legs to push yourself around. But if you stop moving your feet and start using your arms, guys are going to get right through you at higher levels. And Jiricek was a victim of that a lot. But I felt like he was good in the AHL last year. So yeah, where would I put his ceiling and likely NHL output? I mean, I feel like middle pair. Could he kill penalties? Sure.
A ton, though.
I don't think he's going to be a 60-point guy. Like maybe a 30-point defenseman with some good even strength numbers.
40. I think 40 potentially. With
sure.
He might shoot a lot. Like I remember him doing that. I could be wrong, but I remember him having quite the clapper.
Yeah. Opinions on Torrin Anderson. Is that Gillian Anderson's brother? X-Files? No. Solway Sharks legend. Yeah. Solway Sharks legend Torrin Anderson. 6'4", so he's elite. There you go. How about
that? Does he play in Great Britain?
How much would AJ bet behind Lysell in terms of how certain he is that Lysell's a quality NHLer?
What define quality NHLer? Like, what is your definition?
$6 billion. He's going to put his entire life savings into it.
My entire life savings is much smaller than that. I am not that rich, unfortunately. But how much would I bet behind him in terms of like being a quality NHLer? I can't bet anything because teams are stupid. They don't play good players. Like this literally happens all the time. Nick Robertson wasn't getting playtime before this year. I believe that he is a quality NHLer, but I can't bet on it because I don't know if the team's going to play him or not. If I knew they were going to play him, I would bet a lot of money. I would bet probably a couple $1,000. Not actually, because I'm pretty risk averse when it comes to money. But if you put a gun to my head and said you have to bet a certain amount of money on this, like you have to bet in the thousands, I'd do it. Like either he's quality or not, I'd do it.
Fair enough. Any thoughts on
your mic a little bit? Your mic's a little. There we go. I think that's better. Yeah.
Any thoughts on Gleb Siplikov, Grigory Sukharev, or Pavel Shmishlyaev? Those are wow. Okay. The only
Use
one
David
I googled
Phillips?
them. No.
Wow.
The only one I recognize and the only one I've seen is Siplikov. He's an 08, playing for Mamonti Ugri.
Is he Maxim Siplikov's sibling?
No, unfortunately, no. Elite NHL player Maxim Siplikov.
Better than Matvey Michkov.
Better than
Maxim
Matvey Michkov.
Siplikov.
Who would have thought a guy 7 years older than Matvey Michkov might be a little bit better in the NHL? Anyway, I remember Siplikov, seeing him in the preseason a little bit, and he is pretty darn good. I can't tell you specifically why or what, but you know, he was a guy where I'm like, who's this guy? And it turns out he's an 08. I also am a fan of any player who wears number 98 because I think it's just hilarious. I don't know why, but it just is. Someone mentioned the word grit. Yeah, the word grit or sandpaper with regards to a player. That's another one I love.
There's an Italian version of grit, and it's hilarious. It's called grinta. He's got the grinta. That's what all these Italian commentators talk about. Like with regards to players being gritty in soccer, having the grinta, which I think is funnier. I like grinta better than grit. So that's what I'm going to refer to it as from now on.
Okay. What are your thoughts on what were your thoughts on Drysdale pre-draft, and where are they now? So Drysdale, I remember quite clearly, honestly, when he was a draft eligible. I remember him, and issues with injuries have been just brutal. Now he's playing full time with Philadelphia, and his season has not been very good. Drysdale was a player that I remember at draft time, I sort of went, obviously the skating is really, really good. There's lots of things that are going really, really well for him. But I just don't know if it was enough to be a super, super high-end NHL player. Did you stop the stream?
No, it disconnected for a second.
Oh, it disconnected for a second. Okay, never mind.
Like I just got a pop up, or it's like your OBS is disconnected, successfully reconnected. So my apologies.
I'm gonna.
It wasn't me. It was my
OBS.
computer.
No, I'm gonna burn the software to the ground.
I didn't do it on purpose.
But anyway,
I swear.
But yeah, okay. So, what was I saying? Yeah, Drysdale. I mean, it was all skating with him. That's what I remember. And I remember at the time going, okay, like the defending is not great. He's pretty small. He gets pushed around a little bit. But I mean, my thought was he just is a dynamic offensive defenseman. That's his job. You put him with a guy who can defend with him. And he will be a guy who pushes play in the right direction, skates well, moves well. Really dynamic four-way skater. Not the fastest guy in the world, but just got around it really well. But obviously, I think the lesson there is like, well, there's more to it than just moving in four directions really, really well, because he clearly has had some trouble. But I will also say this is the first time he's getting regular, minutes and regular time without injuries. Like he had 8 games played in 22-23, 34 last year. So he's played about half an NHL season over the last 2 full NHL seasons. So he just hasn't played. He's still only 22. I think you give him the next 2 or 3 years while Philadelphia is kind of in this sort of rebuild, I guess you could call it, and give him some time. I mean, they're playing him a ton as well. He's 22 years old. He's playing 20 to 25 minutes a night. So they're playing him a lot. So they're throwing him to the wolves a little bit, but I mean, you got Tortorella at the helm. If Tortorella's still playing him 20 minutes a night, I get the feeling that there's a reason for that. They must believe in him at some point to some level. So I'm always a fan. I've always been a fan of him. Where he was drafted kind of made sense to me, I suppose. Where was it? 6th overall. Yeah, that made sense. Good player. Loves the game.
Good player.
Last question. Would you be interested? Oh, have you seen much of Wyatt Kaiser? No, honestly, I haven't. Would you be interested to hear what you think about Kieran Walton or Kevin He? They're both awesome.
You actually talked about it a little earlier in the stream.
Yeah, Kevin He rocks.
Talking about going to see Niagara with David Phillips this weekend.
Well, I saw Kevin Heath the last time I went, and Kieran Walton was playing in that game, so they played each other, and I was alone that time. But anyway, yeah, both big fans. I'm fans of both. Walton is big and fun. Key is small and him. But
there we go. You got it. He
Good
understands now.
Yeah, we got it.
He is
I'm with
him.
you. Exactly. Okay, well, on that note, we're going to call it a day. Thanks so much for joining us. This was a lot of fun. Thank you. We appreciate the questions and appreciate the tolerance of the laziness this evening.
Well, but you made our jobs easy. That's
exactly.
You know, that's the way it should be. You guys make our jobs easy, and then you like the video because I told you to do it. Go do it.
Exactly.
Do it. I love
we got video rooms coming tomorrow and Wednesday. We got game tape coming Friday. We got
Cam Schmidt,
another show.
Game tape.
Yeah, we got Cam Schmidt on
video
Friday.
Rooms are going to be Ivan Demidov and Artem Levshinov. So stay tuned for those.
Yep. So thanks also to the Vancouver Giants and Cam for coming on. It's going to be a lot of fun.
And we're talking to Porter Martone tomorrow for the game tape.
Porter Martone tomorrow night. Yep. So that'll be
Will's
next
getting
week.
to join as well.
I am. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna see if I can I have a hunch he's Italian. I don't know why, but I'm gonna see if I can pull something out of that because I feel like I'm an Italian Canadian and I care about it, and I feel like a lot of Italian Canadians care about it. So I'm gonna see if I can pull something out, like maybe what's his favorite meal is none to make. So we'll find out.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's going to be it then, I guess. And we'll see you Thursday afternoon at 2 p.m. Obviously, there's going to be content on the channel between now and then. But thank you for joining us. This was a lot of fun. Again, thanks to the sponsors of the show. We got Fanatics on here. We got Puck Preps. You can definitely check that out. There's more coming from there. Fractal Hockey Consulting. And Scouching.ca, where a subscription helps us out a ton, where you'll get access to our Discord server, where there's all kinds of fun stuff that goes on in there.
It's a time,
tons of data
man.
tables,
it's a time.
It is a time.
And I'll hop in and watch more hockey games again this year.
We do that. Yeah, we hop in there and
you can just watch hockey with us.
Talk crap.
And, we talk crap about Evan Bouchard because he sucks.
Yeah,
no,
we make our graphic designer cry.
He makes himself cry.
He makes himself cry. Yeah, I think it's himself doing it to himself.
He puts certain things out into the ether, and then he's not so surprised when they come back to him and don't look so great.
It's bad enough spending your winters in Edmonton.
Oh God! Oh, that's horrible.
What temperature? Before we go, what temperature is it in Edmonton right now? -6.
It's 12 here.
Yeah, it's 7 where I am.
It was 12 here today.
It's going to be -13,
thing, baby.
It's going to be -13 on Sunday in Edmonton, so nice and balmy.
Oh God.
So enjoy. On that note, we're going to call it a day. Thank you very much for joining us. Again, you can check all the links in the description for all of our sponsors and ways you can help us out. You can check all those out down there.
Coffees.
So, yeah, 1 million coffees. Yeah, Project 1 Million Coffees is still on. So far, we're at 0. But it's better than negative.
Honestly, it's fine. You guys are better off. Just I'd honestly rather take your money monthly for stuff that you get more access to things this way.
$1 million, it's $1 million.
Yeah, but just
yes, you're right. You get stuff for your money.
All right, so are we gonna call it then?
That's it then. We're done. We're calling it a night. Thanks for everything. And then again, AJ,
job, and you know what's coming next. Plan the parade, baby. Go Leafs, go. Good night.